Hey, kids. You're listening to the internet's wettest podcast about video games, consoles, and pancakes. The SML Podcast.
What's up, everybody? This is the SML Podcast. We have an interesting episode lined up. Later on in the show, we're going to have our PartyCast, and we're going to do some reviews. But before then, we got something special to do, and we're kicking things off. Glenn Case is here. Glenn, how are you doing?
I am getting over COVID, but on the same notion, I've got energy again, so I'm happy. How about you, Joe?
We're not just going to ignore that COVID thing. What the hell happened?
Long story made short, my wife had a medical issue that came up that was unrelated to COVID, but it was bad enough that she could not keep fluids down. And so we ended up going to the emergency room thinking it was an important enough thing. If you can't keep fluids down, that's not good.
Yeah.
And so we had a 6-hour wait in order to get in. We wore masks. We are both vaccinated. But we believe that the 6-hour wait and then a couple of other hours in the emergency room is probably when she caught COVID, and then I caught it from her.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you go somewhere to get better and you get sicker.
That's sometimes that's exactly how it happens. But no, we are both recovering, and things are definitely looking more optimistic. Still got a pretty nasty cough that, And
it could have been a lot worse if you weren't vaccinated.
Oh, without a doubt. I had 100-degree temperatures, about the worst that it really got. I had headache and my brain felt foggy, but that was really about it.
My brain always feels foggy. So
yeah, but this more so than usual in my case. That's I'd say the same.
So you're here to talk about a video game.
Oh yeah, imagine that on this podcast.
This is going to be an interesting one. I'll go through all the info, but this is going to lead to a somewhat longer discussion on the entire series. So yes. I don't know where the review is going to start and where the rest of the conversation is going to happen. So I'm just going to give all the details up front, and whoever listens to the show for the review can just listen to the next hour and figure out what the fuck happens. First game to talk about tonight is the Jackbox Party Pack 8, developed and published by Jackbox Games, released October 14th on Xbox One, Series X and S, Switch, PS4, PS5, and PC for $29.99. Plan a game night with the looping lunacy of drawful animate, scrambled sentences in Job, surveys and teamwork in the poll mine, doodling and deduction in weapons drawn, and chance and trivia in the wheel of enormous proportions. Glenn, tell us about your time with Jackbox, and what is this whole conversation we're getting into tonight?
Well, I'd say, first of all, I've been a fan of the You Don't Know Jack series and Jellyvision since the first You Don't Know Jack came out for the PlayStation 1, which was in late 1999. There was a demo of that game in one of the PlayStation magazines at the time, and I fell so in love with the demo that I'm like, we've got to buy this game. And we did, and we obsessively played it, and I became obsessed with all things Jellyvision not long after that. So this goes back a long ways. Even before the Jackbox Party Packs, I've loved what they do. So that's the first little bit of this. But
so your love for Jackbox goes all the way back.
Well, and it's not all the way back because,
a good chunk of the way back.
Exactly. It's safe to say that because I did not have the PC games until much later. The PC games came out first, then the PlayStation 1. Yeah. So I can't say from day one, but as soon as I knew, and that was late 1999, we're talking, wow, how many years now? Like 21, 22 years, basically.
Your love for Jackbox can drink.
Yeah, there you go. So
you want to feel old. There we go.
All things Jellyvision, yes. So, and as a result, as soon as I heard about the first Jackbox Party Pack, there was no way I wasn't going to get it. And I've obsessively played it with friends for, ever since that one came out. So I'm always excited when a new one of them comes out. But what I will say is that usually you're getting 5 games and there's almost always a super obvious dud in the group. I don't think there's a super obvious dud in Jackbox Party Pack 8.
No, nothing?
No. The closest that I could come up with, I've got a tie for which one of them could be considered a dud, and I think it greatly depends on what your friend group is like. And so my personal one that I would say has the most likelihood of being a dud in most groups is Weapons Drawn. Weapons Drawn.
Well, let's go through the games that are in Jackbox Party Pack 8. And we'll get to that one eventually. Let's start in the order that they went on in the description. Drawful Animate. What is this one?
Drawful Animate is a new twist on the classic Drawful, which is basically like Pictionary. But instead of drawing one image, you're drawing two images. And I will say that the group that I played with ended up, people tend to get very confused at first. They think, oh, I'll draw the first one and then I'll just be able to draw the other half of it. And that's not quite how it works. You do have to draw the image twice, but it shows you almost kind of like you can trace over the work that you did. And the image fluctuates back and forth between the two images that you've drawn, and it's a crude style of animation. I think it's a real fun step forward for the series in that regard. It opens things up to a little more expression, even if you've drawn badly, which I'm not a good artist. I don't draw well. The fact that there's even a little bit of motion that you can work with can really help to define what it is that you're trying to express, which is a good thing because the prompts themselves are a little ridiculous, I would say.
Which you would expect from Jackbox. You would expect some ridiculousness.
Yeah, well, if you play Pictionary, it might be like you're drawing a clock. On this, it would be something like, nice shirt, bro. And like, how do you draw a nice shirt, bro? I mean, that's just that's not one of the prompts that we had, but it's along those lines to where I think those who have played a lot of these will know what I mean when I say that with Drawful versus Drawful 2, that the prompts that you started to write around became more complex. I think they've taken that even further with this. If I have any complaints about it, there is no eraser tool and there's no undo. So that's the only things that I can say that are downsides for Drawful Animate. But just, even then, I'd still say it's one of the strongest games in the pack.
Nice. They also have Job Job. What is Job Job?
Job Job is my wife's favorite one of the bunch, and I'd say it's right up there for me as well. You know those magnets that they have on refrigerators where you move the words around?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is along those lines in a way. Maybe you, Joe, end up getting asked, talk about your childhood. How would you describe your childhood? And so, like, I was asked that. That was one of the questions I was asked is, describe your childhood. It's like, I spent a lot of time indoors. I played a lot of video games. Didn't see much of the sun. Now,
similar to me, yeah.
See, there you go. And so what happens with that is that one of the other players gets those words, but now it's out of context. They're trying to get a job. That's where your job part of this comes from. And now using the words that you've put for, like, describing your childhood, they're being asked, why would they be an asset to this company? and the only words that they can use to describe why they're an asset to the company are the words that I wrote about my childhood.
Oh, geez.
So, but there's a twist that they tell you about is you can also use the words from the question that was asked of you. So if there's a word that you have on your screen as you're playing on your phone or your tablet or whatever, you drag the words down and rearrange them to try to make a phrase that will make sense.
This one sounds interesting.
It's a lot of fun. I think it is definitely one of the strongest games in this batch, and it's like a lot of the other ones, depending on your friend group. If you have a lot of toilet humor and or, like foul language or whatever, then you're probably going to help the other person win by having those words as options. Your mileage may vary. In our case, like the dirtier that it ended up being, that those ended up taking the cake.
Yeah, those always win. That's how it is in my friend group. The filthier you are, the better you are.
There it is. Yeah, no, I think Job has the strongest possibility of being fun in almost any friend group. It's one of the highest ones that I've ranked.
Sweet. The Pole Mine. What is the Pole Mine?
The Pole Mine is the game that will end friendships. If you have an argumentative friend or several argumentative friends, you might actually piss them off with this one. I think it's fun. Again, in our friend group, it was perfectly fine. But after playing it, I immediately started imagining friends that, like, we can never play this game with this person because it will not end well. You get asked for like Family Feud style questions, like out of this list of eight here, pick your from your favorite answer to the least favorite answer. Who would you like to have in your corner? And the options are like the sun, Pac-Man, Kirby, a candle. and so it's in order of least favorite to most favorite, or a snowball is one of them that was in this one too. And so what happens is everyone is putting in their order of preferences. And at first it's only like three things. You're saying out of this list of 8, pick your 3 favorites of this. And now after that happens, you are now as a group, you have 2 groups, group 1 and group 2, and you name your group. That's part of the fun too, is that there's like voting for the name of your group comes out of like, discussion by committee. And so you have to end up deciding as a group, what is the most popular answer going to be? And so you have to talk amongst yourself, come to a consensus, and one person from your group has the power to actually give the answer. And either you're right or you're wrong. And depending on how many times you're correct, you win the game if you are more correct more often towards the end. Yeah, I think this is another game that has a heck of a lot of potential, but it really depends on your friend group. And that argumentative friend is going to make this not a good time.
Yeah, I can see where that can cause problems.
Yeah, because you have like, I don't agree. It's like this and this, but we've only got 5 seconds to make a decision. You press the 1, and that argumentative friend, you didn't go with their answer, and they were right and you were wrong. And yeah, it can get real ugly real quick, I think.
Oh, shit. Weapons drawn.
I was going to say, a lot of potential for fun, a lot of potential for ending friendships on that one.
Which is always fun with games that you stream, because you could you could have someone come in and join the stream and enjoy the time, and then that game comes up and it ends in slurs and profanity and people getting banned.
And I feel like that's actually, it could be a wildly entertaining one to watch on streams for that reason, just to watch people break.
Yeah, we're going to have to play this one.
Oh, yeah.
What is Weapons Drawn?
So you are a detective and a murderer. Every person is a detective and every person is a murderer. This is by far, in my opinion, this is the weakest choice in the 5, which is not to say that it's bad. It's just my personal least favorite of the group because it is complex in comparison to the other ones. If you're looking for a game that is easy to pick up and easy to play, this is not your game. But the more that you come back to it, I could see how this would have some value to it because there's strategy involved. You are a murderer and you are a detective. You end up inviting a person to come along with you, an accomplice. You give that accomplice a name, and then based on the name that you have given, the other detectives choose who they want to murder, and they try to guess who is the person who brought this guest. And so if you successfully guess who it is that brought the name, if you correctly guess the guest to the person who brought them, then you will murder them. But then there's the murder weapon, which you have to draw. So this is partially a drawing game. So just like we have Drawful, which is a drawing game, Weapons Drawn, also a drawing game.
So a lot of people are going to die from dicks.
Yes.
All
Yes, they are. Like, well, and it'll say that maybe the murder weapon is a rolling pin. It's going to tell you that it's a rolling pin. But here's the twist on that. The picture of the murder weapon that you've drawn will include a letter of your name. So, like, in my case, I end up playing as GC. So, in every case, the letter C was picked for mine. And so I would have to incorporate that letter C as part of my drawing and attempt to hide it amongst the drawing. So now the detectives are trying to look over the drawing. So the C was
always the balls, right?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So
such an asshole. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's perfect. It's perfect. But yeah, no, like in the case of my rolling pin as the weapon that I ended up choosing, the C was just one of the ends of the rolling pin. Again, it helps that I'm not a good artist. But thankfully, a C is pretty easy to incorporate into a drawing as well.
Yeah.
I really do think the biggest downside of this one is learning it. There's just so many things that you have to take in order to understand the strategy of it that people will get turned off for that reason. Once people understand how the game works, I think it's going to be it will be a fan favorite. It's just my least favorite of the 5.
It sounds like it's not going to be something good for streaming, though. It sounds like if you have a group of friends who already know how the game works, it would be fun to play. But if you're all trying to learn and it's just like a quick, let's see how the game works kind of stream, it wouldn't be that good.
No. It's very bad for that. But that same group of friends, maybe 6 months later, who have played it enough and know how it works, now I think you potentially, have something there, and maybe this will actually work really well for that.
Cool. Final game in the pack is the Wheel of Enormous Proportions. What's that?
Oh, this is probably my personal favorite of the bunch, is what it is.
Chance and trivia. It has my intrigue.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, too. It is chance and trivia. You have, even if a person is not doing particularly well, there is a chance that they're still going to win it. So if that is the sort of thing that will piss you off, then you might not enjoy this. For me, I loved that you have like true or false style stuff that's getting thrown at you, but it's getting thrown at you quickly and you've got to think fast. One of the example questions that we got was, which of these movies did John Travolta dance in? And a list of 12 movies showed up on my device, and you have to pick, like, yes, he danced in Saturday Night Fever. Yes, he danced in this one. Yes, he danced in Pulp Fiction. And so you're saying, like, danced in these ones, didn't dance in these ones. And in fact, some of the movies clearly did not have John Travolta in them. So clearly he did not dance in them. So that's just one example of it. But you don't get very long to pick either. So you've really got a rapid fire. You've got to think, okay, yeah, he's in the movie, Michael, but did he dance in it? I'm going to move. I'm not as sure about that one. Another question was to match up the Greek gods to the their counterparts, gods in a different culture. As far as that, like Zeus is to this one, Ares is to this one, that sort of thing. But what happens with it is for the people who do the best get more wedges on the wheel, which is kind of like the Wheel of Fortune, like wheel, basically. If you imagine that instead of the Wheel of Fortune having like bankrupt squares and dollar amounts, instead it's got squares that are the people have chosen. And from there, when someone spins it, and if it lands on one of your wedges, you get points. And if you land on, essentially, once you get 20,000 points, you have the possibility to win. And so there's a winning wheel at that point where you spin that secondary wheel. And if it lands on your square for that, you've now won the game.
So a lot of chance to this one.
A whole lot of chance. But I think that is part of what makes it a lot of fun, because you have several people who, like in our game, several people got either close to 20,000 points or they were above 20,000 points. So there's less of a chance that you're going to win on the winner's wheel at first. But with each new spin, that person now has more of a chance. They've actually got more wedges on there. But all of a sudden, now there's more than one person's wedges on that wheel now because of the way that it works. And not everyone necessarily gets a chance to spin the wheel either. But yeah, it really is. It's trivia and chance. But here, to me, is the kicker and the one that ends up potentially leading to a lot of comedy. When you first start the game, you are asked a question. You are asked to provide a question that you want to ask of the wheel of enormous proportions. If you win the game, then the wheel will answer your question.
Oh, no.
And and of course, that also involves spinning a wheel. And the answer is clearly random and probably doesn't have much at all to do with what you've asked. But I think that there's going to be a lot of times when the answer is going to be really hilarious. I think this may be one of the best games for streaming yet. I imagine Wheel of Enormous Proportions will be insanely popular as a streaming game. It's perfect for streaming.
Nice. Well, overall, the package is $30. What do you think of the Jackbox Party Pack 8? And then we will get into the further discussion.
It's one of the best packs that they've ever put out. It's ridiculously buy it.
Cool. All right, review's over. Time for discussion time. You were really, really bored.
I like lists, Joe. I like lists.
You ranked all of the Jackbox games, correct?
I did. Although what I did is for ones that have sequels, I ended up including them as one series. So, for example, there's a lot of different Quiplash games. There's Quiplash, Quiplash XL, Quiplash 2, and Quiplash 3. I put those into one entry.
Gotcha.
But so when you do it that way, it's not as bad as it sounds. Every Jackbox Party Pack has 5 games in it, but they're standalone games as well. And so the standalone ones don't actually affect these since we're only talking about the packs themselves. But you know, they're out there. If you take all of the games that have been released, I believe it's a total of 43 games that have been released. And there are 33 of them if you remove the sequels from the equation.
Gotcha. So we're going to hear Glenn Case's top 33 Jackbox mini games, correct?
That's exactly right.
Sweet. Let's start at the bottom. What sucks?
Number 33 is Zeeple Dome from Jackbox Party Pack 5. I admire what they were trying to do, trying to make an arcade-style game with using your phones as a controller, but it's clunky and it's not fun.
Carnage is just like, knew it.
Yep. Yeah, it's just not a good game.
So Zeeple Dome takes the prize as the shittiest Jackbox game.
In my opinion, I think it's the worst one, but it only barely edges out the one that's at number 32.
Well, what's 32?
Is Word Spud from the very first Jackbox Party Pack game. That game is only going to be fun if you are in a group of writers. That's really what it is. If you've got a group of writers, there's hope of it possibly being fun. For those who don't remember, because it's a very forgettable game, you put a word and the person after you puts a word. And then people vote on whether or not that word is a keeper. And then the person after them adds a word. And a person after that adds a word. And a person after that adds a word.
Oh, so ideally, you're making a sentence.
You're making a sentence and or a story. And that only works if you are in a group of writers.
Yeah, or creative people.
If they're creative, that's great. If they're not, if you have one or two people who are not creative, no one in that room's having fun.
Yeah.
It's just not good. But it's also...
I was on my way to Dick.
Yeah, but it was exactly... See, that's pretty funny, though. But you have... I mean, but in all fairness, it's also from the first Party Pack. It's a proof of concept. It's... You know, they were working on what works and what doesn't, and ultimately, you notice there hasn't been a Word Spud 2.
Yeah, true.
Yep.
All right, what's next?
At number 31, we have Fakin' It from the Jackbox Party Pack number 3. And I think one of the major problems with this one is that it's not possible to stream it. You have to be in the same room with the other people that are playing it, and it's a lot of looking at one another, one person gets, all of the people in the room get the same instructions except the faker. The faker gets a different set of instructions. And so you are supposed to look around the room and spot who is the faker among you. Again, I think that this is a game that has potential with the right group of friends. But I think more often than not, this one falls flat because it was a difficult concept for people to grasp onto. At least as I've played it with friend groups, this is the one that normally fizzles.
And this is one that requires an actual party.
Yes. Which, this is from Party Pack 3. This is clearly long before COVID ended up happening. This is long before they were really even considering streaming to be like a major, factor in all of this. It makes sense that they were trying to do something different. You'll notice, like with the Zeeple Dome, they were clearly trying to do something different. With Faking It, I think the same thing. They're trying to do something different. Kudos for that. But sometimes the problem with trying to do something different is that it's not going to, it doesn't always stick. And I think that's what this one suffers from. It just didn't stick.
Now, what's next?
Number 30, we have Push the Button. And Push the Button is essentially just faking it in outer space and to where you don't have to be in the same room. On paper, it sounds like it's that move, like the game Among Us. But it's like Among Us if you subtracted the fun.
In what way? Like,
well, it's just a matter of, again, you have there's a bunch of humans on board the ship, and someone is an alien, and you have to decide which one is the alien based on the answers that they've given. Yeah, it's really just a repeat of the concept of faking it, but to where you don't have to be in the same room. I don't think it really helps them.
Yeah,
and that's from Jackbox Party Pack 6. Honestly, it's the one that we just never played much because it was boring enough that our group, at least, we never really returned back to it that often because anytime that we did, we just didn't have any fun with it. It's forgettable.
Now, what's after that one?
Okay, I personally like my number 29. It is Bomb Corps. But this is, once again, a game that you've really got to be able to be in the same place to play. And it takes a certain type of person and group to like this one. Another major problem against it is that it's only up to 4 people. So the fact that you can only have 4 people playing it, it would work well on streaming if all 4 of you are in the same room. But trying to play this via a stream otherwise,
not fun.
I don't think it would even really be possible because you're being timed. You have a very small amount of time, and you're trying to work together to discover how to defuse the bombs. So you've got to cut wires, and people have instructions, but sometimes those instructions are kind of against one another. Like one person says, cut only the odd wires, but one person says you have to cut, one person's instructions says you have to cut wire number 1 first. And like this one, this other player has the instructions, cut only the blue wires.
Yeah.
And so
it's like a teamwork.
Yes.
Competitive teamwork kind of thing.
Exactly. If you've ever played Space Team on phones, it's a lot like Space Team. I think this game has potential, but you really have to be in the same room, and it has to be a certain type of group of people who are into that and will find it funny. It gets hilarious as far as the actual humor itself. There's little cartoon style animation things in between segments that are well written, well acted, funny, office based humor. But it starts getting really ridiculous. Like I think it's round 3 or round 4 are supposedly written by children.
Oh, gee.
And so it gets really, really funny, but you have to have a pretty skilled group of people who are all in the same room at the same time. No. I personally love it, but I could hardly ever get anyone to play it with me because they're not the same type of gamer.
No. Mm-hmm. What's next?
We have at number 28 from the Jackbox Party Pack 4, we have Monster Seeking Monster. I think it's too complex. It's a dating simulator, but this I think suffers the same problem from what I was talking about, Weapons Drawn. It's just very, very convoluted. You are trying to date other. You are a monster, and you're trying to date other monsters, and each of you has a secret identity where, for example, one of the monsters will always appear to be in last place until the last round. maybe another monster. For every monster that they successfully date, you end up taking half of their points. There's a lot of strategy involved. This is another one that is just so complex that the only people who are really going to have any fun with this are people who have experienced it and played it enough times to really know the inner workings of it. I have a friend in our group who always wants to play that, and I wince every time. I'm like, oh God, do we have to play that game?
Not one again.
I'd really rather not. Let's play anything else.
Except for the other 5 games you mentioned.
That I've already mentioned, exactly.
Yeah.
And no one wants to play those anyway. So
yeah, true. Yeah. What's next?
At number 27, it's also from the Jackbox Party Pack 4. We have bracketeering. And I would say the one good thing the bracketeering has going for it is that it supports up to 16 players, which is really fantastic. The other part about this one is that everyone is, say, writing down maybe their favorite cartoon character, just as an example right there. And then they square off bracket style, where it's like, which one is more popular? You know, this person ended up putting that their favorite is Bugs Bunny. This one put Mickey Mouse. So you vote for your favorite, and the winner of that goes on to the next round. Wash, rinse, repeat until you have a winner. I think where this one gets fun, if that was the only concept, it would be pretty boring.
Yeah.
But where it gets better is the later rounds. You have, like, for example, what you would call the triple blind round. And so you end up giving an answer, and all of a sudden the question you were asked might be, for example, like, what's your favorite color? And you put black. And now the problem is that people are not voting on their favorite based on what's your favorite color. They've changed the question on you. And it's like, how would you describe your heart? And so that's wonderful, good news, because, like, my heart's black. Like, of course, people are going to choose that. But now for the next round, if it makes it to the next round, maybe it's going to end up saying something about, like, a completely different question that no longer lines up either. So you could get it to where, if you're really lucky, oh man, the questions happen to line up with what I wrote. So there's luck of the draw in that as well. That's the points where it gets especially fun. But like tiebreakers, if there's a tie, then you have to tap on your phone real quick and everything too. Ultimately, it's not bad. It's just pretty boring in comparison to a lot of the other games.
Something that it sounds like it has potential, but more often than not, it's just going to be like, eh.
It falls flat. It works really great. Like, I've run Jackbox Party Pack parties for my company that I work for, my day job. And bracketeering has been good because it allows more than 8 players. The fact that it's 16 people, and it's kind of harmless.
Yeah.
And so it works well for being harmless.
And you don't want harmless with Jackbox. Come on.
Nope. Not if you're streaming. Not if you're a gamer. I mean,
exactly. You need more dick jokes.
Exactly. You're not going to be able to do those dick jokes at work, at least not without having to talk to HR.
Well, what's next? Next game is HR.
Exactly. Number 26 is from the Jackbox Party Pack 2. We have earwax. And with that one, you're going to end up picking a couple of sounds, and that's basically it. You're lucky if you happened to be the one who got the fart sounds, because the fart sounds are probably going to win. And and it'll normally be like a prompt where, like, you're being, asked, what did you have for dinner? And, like, you put the sound of, like, a plane crashing, and then a fart.
Yeah.
Maybe those are your choices. But I think where this one suffers is it's not like everybody has the same sounds. The sounds that are given to you as options are random. And so maybe one person gets the fart sounds, the other person gets, like, cartoon noises or whatever. So it's really luck of the draw as far as what sounds you have to work with. And it can be really fun, but a lot of times when I've played it, at least, is there's a lot of, like, knowing laughs, but, like, the knowing laughs are clearly almost like, why did they put these two together? It didn't really make all that much sense. Like, they're laughing, but it's more for, like, to be nice.
Like that.
Yep, exactly. Exactly like that.
Oh, man. Yeah, that one doesn't sound too...
It's an early on. Earwax was from the second party pack. again, I would chalk up a lot of these ones that are on the lower half of this is them trying to do something a little
different. Throwing a Hail Mary and seeing what happens.
And sometimes they throw that Hail Mary and they get a winner, but not this time.
Nah.
Ultimately, with the right group, it's kind of harmless fun, but harmless, at least for most of us that are going to be, listening to this podcast. Doesn't work the best.
No. And we'll get to the good ones eventually.
Oh, we're getting there. We're getting there. We're making our way up. We're up to number 25 next.
Yeah. What's top 25? How's this one?
Number 25 is going to be from the Jackbox Party Pack 6, and we have Dictionarium. And honestly, it's mostly just has to do with definitions. Like you end up coming up with a word, you end up coming up with a definition for that word, and you end up using that word in a sentence. That's the 3 rounds.
I really enjoyed this game. It definitely something that you got to come down with the right group of people.
It so depends on the right group of people. With the right group of people, this is a blast. With the wrong group of people, this is forgettable.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yep, that's my only complaint with this one is that I just don't think it's one of them that's going to be as consistent. It's just like with Word Spud, when we go back to that, I imagine that could be an uproariously hilarious game with the right group.
Yeah.
I don't think the Dictionarium is as dependent on that, but it just depends. If you have a creative group of people, I feel like this is a decent game, which is why it's also not lower than some of these other ones.
Yeah.
It has the potential to be pretty fun.
What's 24?
Espionage from Jackbox Party Pack 3 is at number 24. I personally do enjoy this one. It's nice if you know that you are in a group of people that isn't very creative. This is a good icebreaker, I think, because you're being asked, for example, maybe of the people who were polled, what percentage of people have a television in their bedroom? And so you are now picking a percentage anywhere from 1 to 99%. And so other people will guess whether the real answer is higher, lower, much higher, or much lower than the guess that you gave. And everyone goes through their, and of course, they don't come completely right out and say that this is from an online survey. They do, but the whole premise of the game is that we're spying on you. This is information that we found out about you. But then they do a disclaimer. No, that's not what this is. We did an online quiz. It's pretty harmless. It's fun. It's a good icebreaker for people who I do think it works really well as an icebreaker for people who do not yet understand what Jackbox is. Because it's not asking much of them. They just have to pick a percentage and hit submit.
Yeah, it sounds like a good intro game.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's next?
We now have my weakest one from the newest Jackbox Party Pack 8, and that is Weapons Drawn, which I talked about it a little bit. But again, this is essentially you are the detective and you are a murderer as well. Your friends are going to bring a guest with them. You're going to try to guess who brought which guest. If you correctly guess who brought the guest, you murder them. And you try to there's a letter from your name that will end up in the murder weapon that gets drawn. So you will have to start your drawing with a letter from your name, and you will have to try to disguise that letter in your drawing of the murder weapon. I think the biggest problem this one suffers from is that it's just very complex. The more that people play it, the more they're likely to enjoy it. This is not the game that you pick up and play with people on a stream.
No.
I feel like it'll probably do much better 6 months from now, a year from now, when people have played it a lot.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, what's up next?
We have a drawing game at number 22 right here. It's going to be Patently Stupid. And in this one, you're going to try to come up with your best invention that you have. Again, you're going to come up with a name for the invention, and you're going to try to, I believe, come up with a slogan for it. And you, I believe, try to give a pitch for why this is a worthwhile invention. This kind of depends on how theatrical and funny your friend group happens to be.
Yeah, sounds like this one needs a lot of creativity.
Yeah, it definitely does, because you not only have to be decent at drawing, but you also have to end up being creative enough to come up with why the thing that you've just come up with is good.
No.
Which, with the right group of friends.
Yeah, I could see that one being fun, but I don't know.
You can see why I would have it down lower than some of the ones that you know are coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those ones that I barely remembered because we just haven't played it as much.
There's so many of these that I don't remember, and then you explain them, and I'm like, oh yeah, that one.
That one, exactly. I think as we get closer to that top 10, it's going to be ones where you're like, well, yeah, I know that one.
I'm sure there will be a few where I'll be like, that's not higher.
Have you had any of those yet?
No.
Oh, perfect.
So what is next?
We are going with number 21, and it is from our most recent Jackbox Party Pack before the newest one. It's from Jackbox Party Pack 7. It is Champed Up. And this is a drawing game where you're normally asked to come up with your best hero or villain and to give them a name. And I believe, again, it'll be something where I'm trying to remember this one because, again, I've not played this one as much as some of the other ones. It has had its really fun moments where you are just trying to – oh, yeah, that's right. You have it to where you have come up with a hero and you had a prompt, but now your friend that is now drawing the one that's going to go in the arena as a popularity contest has no context for why you drew what you drew. They're just drawing what they think would be a good opponent for that person based on your drawing alone. And they've got nothing to go on. So if they get picked, they get more points because they didn't have the context of why.
I don't think I actually played this one at all because I've played 7 on stream a few times with other people. I don't have 7 or 8 myself yet. I got to pick them up still. But I don't think I played 7 or I don't think I played this one with anybody at all.
And I think that speaks volumes, honestly. It's one of the reasons is like it takes, again, a special group of friends with it. We've had some really big laughs with this one. But again, it's kind of involved.
Yeah.
And it's drawing and it's involved in a when you have there are better drawing games. Here's what I'm going to say with it. There are better drawing games coming up where it is your drawing versus someone else's drawing. There are way better games that are like this that, you know, similar concept, just better executed.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like the bottom third of the group. We went through 21 to 33. Now we're jumping into the top 20. We're getting to some of the good stuff now. I guess the next 10 are middle of the pack. Yep. What's in your top 20? Let's start with 20.
I hate putting this one so low, but it's from the second Jackbox Party Pack. It is Bidiots. It is number 20. I think the predatory loans jingles are comedy gold. I so love them to the point where my nephew ended up buying me a Predatory Loans shirt. For those who may not know, it includes the A in Predatory is the design of a shark wearing a monocle and a top hat. Predatory Loans. Were you pretty mind about the consequences?
Oh, jeez.
And they change the jingle each time too. But this is one where you are given a prompt, given 3 prompts, and you're drawing things based on those 3 prompts. And now people are bidding on these works of art that you've created. But here's the trick with it. You maybe have been given a prompt of and I'm trying to think of a good example on this, where one person is cliff diver, but the trick is that someone else has been given like a high diver, like a pool high diver. Like the prompts themselves that get given to people are incredibly similar. And usually there's 2 to 3 very similar prompts. Some of the paintings are worth a lot of money, and a lot of them are not worth anything. So you are creating the paintings, but then you're also bidding on the paintings and trying to make the most money. And you're given hints about how to do it. So this also suffers from the fact that it's a bit complex. I think it is incredibly good once you have learned how the game works. I think it definitely helps. But it also suffers from the maximum number of players being 6.
Ooh.
So if you have a bigger group, Bidiots takes a big hit from that. It only supports up to 6 players, and it might be confusing to some people at first. But I think it's a very rewarding game the more that you play it. I try to get my friends to play it more often than they're willing to play it.
All right, number 19. Let's hear it.
We are with Split the Room, which has a animated cat that is pulling a Rod Serling on us. But it's if you remember the old card game Scruples, where you are asked questions about what you would do in a difficult situation. But the hope is that the answer that you're going to give will, in fact, split the room. You want to choose a response that won't be an overwhelmingly like one-sided thing where everyone's going to agree with you.
No.
Yeah, I think it is another one that, again, depends on the crowd. It's all of these really depend on the group. Like which ones you're going to choose is going to depend on your group.
Yeah.
This one is one
that goes without saying for pretty much all of these.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We've had some fun times with Split the Room, but we've had other times where people just didn't get it and no one really had fun.
No,
and
a lot of people think that the goal's always to get the best
people
answer.
To agree with you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but it's right there in the title. You want to split the room, and so yeah. I've not played it as much as some of the other ones, so. I can only speak to my experience from it, which is to say that about half of the time that I've played it, we've had a blast, and the other half that I've played with other people, it's been forgettable and we've moved on from it.
Well, what's next?
We are up to number 18, and it is Talking Points. And man, do I love this game a lot more than it shows on this list. This is some of the biggest laughs I've ever had from Jackbox have come from this game. You have one person controlling a slideshow, and the other person has to explain what's happening based on the slideshow and based on the prompts that have been given to them. So it's chaos, and part of it is a matter of how nice the person is who is controlling the slideshow is being to the person who is being put on the spot. So, like the other ones, it depends on the group that you're in, but the chances for hilarity are so great when you have someone who is creative enough and can think fast in the moment. If you've got people who think fast in the moment, this is going to be some of the biggest laughs you will ever get from Jackbox. But its downside is that if a person doesn't do well with public speaking, doesn't do well with being put on the spot, it's going to be a dud.
Yeah.
Which is why it is one of my lower ones from, it's the second lowest from Jackbox Party Pack 7, I'll say, by the way.
Well, what's next?
Let's go to number 17, which is Survive the Internet. This is from Jackbox Party Pack 4. And again, this is one of those ones where you'll be asked a question, and then the person will take the answer for your question, and they will put it out of context and try to make you look bad. And that's the premise right there. And you do that again and again, where the answer that you gave initially made perfect sense regarding the question that you ended up having. But now that it's been taken out of context and, someone was able to take your answer and put a new question with it, they've intentionally made something that's really funny and makes you look bad. It actually works. It works pretty well for streaming. I think this one is a little bit of an overlooked gem.
I can't recall playing this one either.
Yeah, no, and I think this one has been a dud with my group sometimes, but again, where I've had really big laughs when you've got the right group.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
We're at the halfway mark.
Yeah.
And any thoughts so far on the list halfway through?
It's funny because there are plenty of these ones that were in the lower half that I personally don't dislike them. There's just more solid games. That's
which speaks a lot for the Jackbox Party Packs.
Yeah, I think any of the games any of these packs that you end up picking, you're going to get some gems. In fact, I'd say that ratio-wise, you are going to have one or two gems. You're going to have one or two that are okay, and you're going to have at least one dud.
Yeah. Well, usually, you said number 8 doesn't really have a dud, but
I don't think the 8 has a dud. And if we go back through what we've already talked about, 7 really doesn't have much of a dud either. The first one that we see from Jackbox Party Pack 8 is the 23rd best game. If you look at Jackbox Party Pack 7, the lowest one is Champed Up, which is the 21st best game.
Yeah.
So the fact that you have so many below it that are from the earlier ones, Yeah, I'm looking at the bottom one. Zeeple Dome, Word Spud, Faking It, Push the Button, and Bomb Core, and Monster Seeking Monster. In order, that's from Jackbox Party Packs 5, 1, 3, 6, 2, and 4.
A lot of early stuff.
In fact, if you look at the bottom ones there, it is from Jackbox 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then the worst games after that are still from 4, 2, 6, 3, and then finally 8.
Yeah.
I think that speaks a lot to the fact that the two newest ones, spoiler alert, but maybe they're two of the best ones that they've released thus far.
Shows that they're just getting better.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to that list separately. Because it's all about lists tonight. But number 16, what's up?
We are up to number 16, and it is from the newest Jackbox Party Pack 8. It is Pole Mine, and this is the one that is going to end friendships because you are asked, and I again, I talked about it a little bit too, but you're given some sort of a thing where it's like, here's 12 choices. Of the 12 choices that we've given you, pick your 3 favorites. And now of those 3, the favorites that you picked, you have team versus team, team 1 versus team 2. It's split in 2. And as a team, you have to come up with, you're being asked, okay, what does everyone here think the number 1 answer is? And you have to talk and discuss it amongst yourself to decide what is the number 1 that everyone picked. Now, here's what I found very interesting about it. When I played this here recently, of course I did it via stream. I'm getting over COVID, so we didn't play this in person. What I found interesting about that, if you are in the same room, your team could probably be quiet and like go off to a corner and talk only amongst themselves. But in our situation, we could hear everything that the other team is saying. So part of the strategy becomes what they're saying is bits that we can use for our strategy. If they're saying things that we agree with, my wife and I happened to be on a team when we played, and we played against like 3 of our friends. And so we're listening to the other 3 people talk amongst themselves. And as I'm listening to them, I'm like, yeah, no, that's exactly what I was thinking. Oh, no, I hadn't thought about that. So it gives you something to work with. So now when you're talking with your teammates, you have to ride this fine line between not saying too much, but saying enough that your team gets the right idea. And so you've got to come to the consensus. If you have people in your group that are very argumentative, you're not going to have a good time. You could have friendships end or fights start over this game. But with the right group, again, the right group, you're going to have a blast. And I think it's going to be one of the most fun ones to watch as a stream because of the implosions. People are going to get real pissed off at one another.
Oh, God.
I told you should have picked Kirby.
You motherfucker.
Exactly. You picked the sun.
Stupid asshole.
Yeah, in our one that we had where you had to pick the top 3 things that you would want in your corner, the sun was one of the options. I'm like, well, yeah, of course I want the sun on my side.
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
Burn my enemies to a crisp. And somehow the sun got number 2. So there you go. Where the other options were Pac-Man and Kirby. And I think most people picked Pac-Man for number 1. I love Pac-Man. But if I had the choice between having...
Dude dies from a ghost.
There you go. So who do I want in my corner? The sun that can burn people to a crisp if it comes down to it. Or Pac-Man who dies from a ghost. Exactly.
Oh, what a bitch. Anyway, number 15.
Number 15, we've got from the Jackbox Party Pack 7 is Blather Round. And boy, howdy, can this one be really fun. Maybe you're given the prompt of Braveheart, but instead of being able to describe Braveheart in your own words, you're having to pick the words that are on your screen that are very, very vague. And you're giving people clues almost like the way that you would in a game of Taboo or Charades, where you can't actually say Braveheart clearly. And that point is like, it is a story of a man. And then you're given like new things that you can work with. Like, you know, it is nothing like this thing that you already guessed. It is totally like this thing that you already guessed. It is not a comedy. Like, you know, you're the person who's presenting is given choices on their phone where hopefully I found that to succeed in this, you have to think quick and just make decisions and just go for it. Because if you take too long and dwell on what to say, then you won't get as many hints out there. It's all about getting more hints out there and trying to get people guessing.
Yeah, I don't think I played this one either.
Yeah, it's not a bad game. It's not a bad game, obviously. At this point, we're up to,
Yeah, what's lucky number 13?
I'm going to say with number 13 right here, we've got one of them I think is incredibly underrated. And it's one of in fact, that's the next one as well. This is from the Jackbox Party Pack 6. It is called Role Models. And I think I've seen a number of other reviews where this one ranks very low with people. I personally think that this is a brilliant game. And so for an example, it might be if the game knows that there's 5 people playing, it'll ask, of your group of friends that are playing right now, which one of you is which Spice Girl? And so you end up actually picking what your roles are for the group of friends. This works, I think, especially great if the group of people who are playing know one another. Then you can, end up picking some really creative answers based on what you've been given. But the game bears in mind how many people are playing. And so, like, again, with 5, this is a more obscure thing that they would probably never pick. But if there's 5 of you playing, if the 5 of you were the Jackson 5, which one of you is which brother?
Interesting.
And
this sounds like something that's really good, but not streaming.
Yes, exactly.
Because if you're playing with strangers, like, you're not going to know anything.
Yeah, it will not work at all with strangers. It works brilliantly well when you know the other people who are playing, though, because it's like, oh, yeah, that's totally who Joe is. Like, if there's 6 of you, and it's like, I think one of the ones was asking, like, which character from Harry Potter is each one, and it gives you options. But if there's a tie, they'll bring in some sort of a ringer that's a ridiculous character that, is this person more like this person, or is it more like this character that's just a ridiculous choice? There's a lot of fun to be had with Role Models, and I don't think that it gets the credit that it deserves. I think it's a better game than people make it out to be.
Well, what's next?
We have at number 12, it's going to be from the Jackbox Party Pack 7. It is The Devil and the Details. And this is, again, I think incredibly underrated. I do not think it is ideal for streaming, but it is at least possible. You are a family of devils, and you are trying to blend in with human society. And the way that you do so is by what you are told are normal chores. Like maybe that involves picking up groceries, or making sure that you wash the dog, or mow the lawn. And the way that you mow the lawn, like and you have the father, you have the parents, and you have the kids too. So if you're playing as a parent, then you're going to have different roles than the ones as a kid. It can be complex, but ultimately it's not that difficult, because you're picking, say, mow the lawn, and then on your screen on your device it'll be like swipe left, swipe right. Okay, now cool, you've mowed the lawn. Where it gets complex is some of the more complex tasks that the family needs to do as a whole. You might have one of the kids is being asked to grab items from the refrigerator, and they need help in that case, where another player needs to tell them what the items are that they need to get from the refrigerator. And so now you're having the chaos of maybe these 2 people are having to talk to one another. Like, what else do I need? I need the Brussels sprouts from here. Okay, what else? The milk? Got it. That becomes a problem if there's also 2 other people who are needing to talk to one another to end up getting through, like, so turn it to the left hand side right there. The other one, it kind of looks like a clock. Put it at 12 o'clock on the clock. It's madness. It's chaos, but so fun, and especially fun if you are all in the same room.
So another one that streaming just might not be optimal for.
It's not optimal because of the fact that you do need to be able to speak to the people that you are playing it with. But oh my God, I've had so much fun with this one. When I've had people that have, been either in the same room or all in a Zoom call. But even with a Zoom call, it can be so chaotic that I think that it does make it to where people shy away from it. I would have this in my top 10 personally, but I recognize that the not ideal for streaming part does play a factor in it. Oh, and the other part that I failed to mention is that you can do selfish things that do not help the family. And if you do the selfish things, someone can catch you doing that and get points for it too. But there's a certain amount of tasks that you have to do as a family. And if you don't do it, then you fail as a family. So you have to work together. But when you get the opportunity to be selfish and get extra points for yourself, you should take them.
Unless someone's a dick and catches you.
Yep. There you go. There you go.
Risk and reward.
It's risk versus reward, and it is an absolute blast under the right circumstances. I think this is one of them where they took a chance doing something different, and in my personal opinion, it paid off. I can understand why people don't like it. Personally, I would play this a lot more often than my friends like to.
Nice. All right, what's next?
Oh, man. And I originally had this lower in the list, and I'm so glad that I've rectified that. At number 11, we have from the Jackbox Party Pack 3, it's TKO. And oh, my goodness, is this great. You make drawings, you come up with sayings, and then someone puts one of those sayings and one of those drawings together on a T-shirt, and you vote on the best T-shirt. And if you like the T-shirt enough, you can order a real-life T-shirt of what you've come up with in your design.
Are they still doing the real T-shirts? I don't remember if they're still doing them or if they're...
I believe they're still doing it.
That's fantastic.
And how wonderful is that? Like, really, this is, I mean, who would have ever thought you could have something where you're doing these drawings and you're doing the phrase. Like, initially I had this closer to the middle of the pack, but the more that I thought about it, oh my goodness, this is some of the best laughs that you're ever going to have from a Jackbox Party Pack. And I do have friends that have purchased the T-shirts themselves. They're pretty good quality considering.
Nice. Yeah, Carnage saying that's one of his favorites. You can tell we're getting to the good stuff now.
Yeah, no, it's so solid. I'm glad that I reconsidered on this one and put it higher, because the more I thought about it, I was like, no, some of the biggest laughs I've had in this game has been TKO. And it kills me to not even have that one in the top 10.
I know. That shows you how strong the top 10 is. So
yeah, I think so. Now, is there anything you've heard thus far where you're like, yeah, I don't know about that?
There were.
It's fair if so.
I think 12, like The Devil in the Details. I think that one, due to the whole lack of streaming. Yeah. I think that one could have been low. I think anything that involves real gathering together should be kind of lower on the list, just because of where we are these days.
You know, sometimes you end up picking that personal favorite that's like the dark horse.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's my dark horse. That's the one where I recognize that a lot of people probably don't like it as much as I do. But damn if it's not one of my favorites, one of my go-tos, like, you know, the friend that I talked about that always wants to play Monster Seeking Monster, and I'm like, oh God, that's the one that I want to play, that they're like, oh God. And I recognize that. I know it's not for everyone, but man, for me, I love that one. And I recognize that that is definitely my own personal ranking, making a big difference there. I would actually say that that's me doing what you do in that game when you are being selfish. That was me being selfish, was putting that higher in the list than it probably deserved to be. And now you've caught me, so you get the points and I don't.
I do get the points. Fuck yeah. All right, top 10.
Catching me.
Let's get to this top 10. We're an hour into this. I didn't think we would be talking about this for over an hour, but goddamn, Glenn.
Well, I'm a talker. What can I say?
So am I. That's why these episodes are always so fucking long.
All right. Well, I know for a fact that you are familiar with number 10. And people can get their feelings hurt, but it is Jackbox Party Pack 5, Madverse City.
Hell yeah.
At number 10.
I love Madverse City.
Robot rap battle. Hurt each other's feelings. If this one can end friendships too, but it's more likely that, it just depends on what you come up with, because, you're going to have it to where the first line is provided for you and you have to come up with a rhyme that works with that first line. And then you're given the next line and you got to come up with a rhyme for the first line, and you just want to make your opponent look silly. I do think it helps if you know the people. I think that would be one. This is one of them where if you have a group of friends, they're able to trash talk one another, and it sometimes works the best if you get a little too personal. But you got to ride that fine line and not ruin friendships or marriages in the process.
This one is like hit or miss when it comes to streaming, because some groups of friends, like, it just clicks and you guys are just shit talking each other back and forth and having a good time. And then other times people just can't get into the whole rap thing and they'll just put lol, 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 lol and fart noises, and they ruin it. And it
can ruin it for sure. I think it works against me that I'm a musician and that I have done rapping.
Yes.
Because I try to actually, and I think it works against me partially because you will get the group of friends that's like, well, of course, Glenn wrote a good line. He's a songwriter. So I've actually had that work against me in some cases where I've come up with a line that's real good, but my opponent came up with a line that's just funny.
Yeah.
Like mine, it's like, dude, it lines up. Like, look at that. Like the last 3 syllables all rhyme with one another.
It was the robotic voice was like the cadence was on beat and everything.
Exactly.
I took that into account.
I will sometimes overthink it and it works to my disadvantage. And I do think that the other part of it really is like, well, Glenn's a songwriter, so of course. So like, that I don't know that for sure, but I think at least some of the times that I played it, it actually has worked against me. And I have been voted against despite clearly coming up with a superior line.
I've been there.
Hashtag I'm butthurt. All right. What can I say?
All right. What's next?
All right. I think one of the finest drawing games that has been released is from the Jackbox Party Pack 4, and it is called Civic Doodle. For those who may not remember this one, you start drawing something against another person in real time. They're seeing the drawings happen on the screen. You end up voting for your favorite, and the next round, people are adding to your drawing.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
It is so incredibly fun, and it is so unique because you have so many good things happening with it. It's the fact that people are seeing what you're drawing more or less in real time, and then they're interacting with it with the emoticons, the emojis. Like that adds for some humor. The fact that you're adding on to what other people do. If someone has already filled most of the screen, then it can end up being redundant. That would be only one of the only downsides. But this is another one where we've played this and just had a ridiculous amount of fun.
Yeah, it's a good one. I can agree with that one.
Absolutely.
What's next?
We are up to number 7, and we have one from the brand new Jackbox Party Pack 8. It is the Wheel of Enormous Proportions.
Nice.
We have trivia and we have random chance, and they come together in this game. You start the game by asking a question of the mighty Wheel of Enormous Proportions, and if you win, then the wheel will answer your question, and you'll spin the wheel again to reveal what your answer is, which will be random and may or may not make sense as an answer, but often it will be funny. And yeah, I specifically love that you have 12 options. Again, I'll use as an example, which movies featured John Travolta dancing. And some of those are super obvious. Like you've got Saturday Night Fever. Yeah, of course he danced in that. And you've got a Pulp Fiction. Of course he danced in that. Battlefield Earth. Did he dance in that one? Michael, did he dance in that one? Apocalypse Now. Was he even in that film? And then, but you don't have a lot of time to think. You've got to guess as many of these correctly as you can. And if you answer more, you get more wedges on the wheel. And if people spin the wheel and land on one of your wedges, you get points. Once you get 20,000 points, you're eligible to win. A wheel is once again spun. It's a smaller wheel. And if that wheel lands on your name, you win and you get your question answered. I think this is going to be one of the most popular games for streaming.
Nice. Yeah, and we got to play this one. This one sounds so fun.
It is a lot of fun, and I genuinely love that even a person who is in last place, all hope is not necessarily lost, especially if people are getting 20,000 points, but they spin the wheel and it doesn't land on a win. With each time that happens, there's at least a chance that your person who's in last place might actually still take it.
Yeah.
And I like that. There's a bit of a rubber banding effect in a way.
All right, what's next?
So now we have the first series where it's a game that has, like, here's what I have to say about ones that have sequels. They have sequels for a reason.
Yeah.
Because they were good enough to merit having a sequel. And we go way back with this one. At number 6, it is the You Don't Know Jack series.
Low.
I know. I initially had it even lower yet. And here's the problem with this one specifically. If you look at the first You Don't Know Jack, I think it's brilliant. The fact that they had the wrong answer of the game in there was a brilliant mechanic where it's a wrong answer of the game that has to match this specific clue. And if you get it, it gives you a ridiculous amount of money. There's a lot of humor. It's, as they've called it for years, it's where high culture and pop culture collide. I do think that the version from the Jackbox Party Pack 5 is better, partially because up to 8 people can play it at the same time, which makes it, to me, the best You Don't Know Jack game that's been released for PC game systems or otherwise. It's the best one that they've released because it handles up to 8 players. I
think one of the downsides of the Jackbox Party Pack one, though, is that it has a lot of allowances for streaming that the original games didn't. Like, the original games were built around 3 people being huddled around one keyboard,
bingo,
hitting your key for the answer and screwing over your buddies next to you.
It's a timeless series. I've actually watched videos where people have ranked all of these games, and they had the You Don't Know Jack ones lower. And I'm thinking nostalgia maybe plays a factor as well. Yeah. Because I've played them since the first one on the PlayStation 1 anyway, since late 1999. I absolutely love the series. I especially love it if Cookie Masterson happens to be the host. I think he's the best host that they've ever had. So that helps as well. No, it's just incredibly solid. And here's another thing that I'm just going to disclose right now. Anytime that they've made a sequel, the sequel has been better every single time. There's not a single one of them where the newer version isn't better than the one that came before it. Like, they've taken every sequel and made it better than its predecessor. Fight me.
I don't want to.
Okay, that's fine. We don't have to fight.
Okay, tell me number 5 instead. Number 5.
Number 5, which, that comes from You Don't Know Jack too. I love that so much. Believe it or not, this comes from the new Jackbox Party Pack 8. It's Job coming in at number 5. I think that this, and it's funny because we were talking about the new games last night, and I was talking with my wife, Rachel. She had Job as her favorite. I had the Wheel of Enormous Proportions as my favorite.
And they're both in the top 10.
Yeah. How crazy is that?
And
they're both in the top 10.
Spoiler alert, we didn't get to Drawful yet.
Not yet, which means that you've already put it together, and I'll just tell you, 3 of the top 5, 2 in the top 5 are from Jackbox Party Pack 8. 3 of the top 10 are from Jackbox Party Pack 8. That's how solid the new collection is in my estimation.
Damn.
Yeah, right? I think Job is going to be another one like the Wheel of Enormous Proportions that's going to be an absolute blast on streams because you are asked a question. I will give the example where it asked me to describe my childhood, and I have to put a bare minimum of 5 words. And the words that I chose were something along the lines of, I spent a lot of time indoors. I played a lot of video games. I did not see the sun very much. That was my description. So the next person is going to get my words that I just used to describe my childhood, but now they're going to have to use those words as part of the answer to a job interview question of what would make you an asset to our company. And the only words that they have to choose from are the words in the question that was asked and the words that I used to describe my childhood, and they've got to rearrange those and move them around until it makes some semblance of sense, or at least it's funny. So you will be helping yourself and others out if you use curse words or toilet humor in your answers.
Yay. Yeah. Which I do.
Job's a killer. It's so good.
Nice.
Oh, and I will say this. All of the remaining 4 are all part of series.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they already guessed the 4 series in chat. It's just what order they're going to be in.
Exactly.
We've got Drawful, Fibbage, Trivia Murder Party, and Quiplash.
Yes, that's your top 4, but in what order?
What order? Let's find out. Number 4.
Number 4, I've got Drawful. I've got the Drawful series, and I would say that the newest one that they came up with is the best one that they have done thus far. They added, in the first one, it was basically just Pictionary. You had a prompt, you drew something for that prompt. The second one, they ended up adding a second color to where you didn't just have one color, and at least with that one, I don't recall, was there an undo button or an eraser in that one? I don't recall, but it seemed like maybe there was.
I don't remember.
Well, I can definitely say the new one doesn't have an eraser. It doesn't have an undo button. And that's really the only downsides that I can think of for the new Drawful anime. You're currently, the new one, you are drawing 2 different pictures, one on top of the other, and it creates some crude form of animation, which can really help you to describe what you're being asked to describe, which is a good thing because what you're being asked to describe is utterly ridiculous in most cases. This is not just something where they're having you draw a clock. They're having you be like, dude, nice shirt, bro. That's kind of the way that I described it before, I guess, as well. But the prompts, you can start coming up with really silly names for the prompts that people are guessing because there's a good chance that the answer itself is going to be a little odd.
Yeah.
And I kind of love that they've done that. Yeah, no, Drawful's super solid, and Drawful 2 was wonderful, but it was part of a standalone pack.
Yeah,
it was not part of a party pack. It is our first entry that was a standalone purchase. Was nice. Drawful 2.
All right, number 3. Let's hear it.
We go with it. If you've got a group that has a dark sense of humor, this one is a no-brainer. From Party Packs 3 and 6, it's the Trivia Murder Party series. In our household, this is a go-to. It's a must. If we're playing games and I'm asking people what they want to play, you better believe Trivia Murder Party is going to come up, probably the sequel. I do think the sequel takes the ideas from the first game and improves upon it. And it's fantastic. You have to answer trivia questions or die in one of the many fun and dangerous mini games. Maybe you'll have to do math. Maybe you will have to end up dictating what our captor is saying. And of course, if you die, it's not necessarily the end because you can still play as a ghost and steal the other player's body at the end. The only real downside for this one is it is one that is best to skip if your group does not have a dark sense of humor.
That's why it's at number 3 instead of 1 or 2.
It's the only reason it's not higher right there is if there's any, that's really the only reason you wouldn't play it. Is because if your group does not have a dark sense of humor, then this one's probably off the table. It's definitely off the table, probably like in the situations where I run a Jackbox Party Pack thing for work, because again, it's a potential talking to HR. That's really all. That's the only reason. I personally think it deserves where it's at. Some people would have it even higher.
All right. Well, we're down to the top 2. A lot of people think they know what number 1 is. I think
it's pretty clear. It's
clear.
This point.
They think they know what number 1 is. What's number 2?
Number 2, and come on, everyone knows that if you're looking between Quiplash and Fibbage is getting the number 2 spot. The Fibbage series is fantastic. It is fantastic, but it's not Quiplash.
Yeah,
so, we'll get to it. I mean, we know what number 1's going to be, but Fibbage, it's solid. It's been there since the first Party Pack game. It was in Party Packs 1. You had Fibbage. You had Fibbage 2 and Fibbage 3 in Party Pack 4, and Fibbage Enough About You. Now, what I found very interesting on this one was looking at other people's lists, and this one is kind of a love it or hate it. You had some people that were putting Fibbage 3 as like what they would call S tier, but putting the other ones way down. Like it was like a B or a C. I personally think that this is another one that is a really good starter for someone. Like it's an icebreaker for people who do not know what Jackbox is. You need to be creative, but not overly creative. You're given a really weird random fact, and they've taken out the key word that makes it an odd thing. So you've got to come up with your most creative lie, but it needs to be a lie that's believable enough that people will guess that maybe it's the truth. And you get points, of course, for answering the one that's true. You also get points for fooling people. It's a pretty simple concept. Once people have played one round of it, they might get confused the first time thinking that they're just trying to come up with the most funny thing. I will still sometimes be like, I'm not going to win, but this is too funny to not post. I know I'm not going to get points, but I'm going to get laughs. And so then you can also have people vote for their favorite likes. So there's been plenty of them where I'm like, I'm not winning anyway, so I'm just going to throw this one as far as the points, but I'm going to try to come up with the funniest things that will make people laugh. I think it works beautifully well for a streaming one for that reason as well.
Oh, of course. And then number one, we all know what it is.
It's not exactly a surprise.
Not anymore. We've covered everything but Quiplash.
Standalone game. It's in Jackbox Party Pack 2, Party Pack 3, and Party Pack 7. It is Quiplash, Quiplash XL, Quiplash 2, and Quiplash 3. This is an absolutely phenomenal game. It is by far the one that if I'm having friends play, this is every time. This is probably going to be, if not the first game we play, it'll be within the first 2 or 3 games that we play. What else can you say about it? You're given a prompt. You try to come up with the funniest thing that's going to make people laugh, and your answer squares off against someone else's answer. It does not get much more simple. It's endless fun. Hands down, in my opinion, the most solid series. The only con is that it doesn't work as well if your friends aren't creative. But even if they're not creative, they have the one where they can have an answer picked for them. The safety quip.
Which always helps for the people who just don't know what the hell they're doing. Safety quips can still win a game.
I've actually seen it happen. I've seen it happen where people just I clearly don't know what I'm doing with this, but I'm going to go ahead and do that. I love that there's an audience factor as well, where if you have a good number of people in the audience, that it can definitely skew the results a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
This may be, of all of the games, Quiplash may be the one that is the most ideal for streaming.
Oh, yeah. And that's why everyone streams it.
If anything's going to be streamed, it's Quiplash. They hit gold with that one. They could continue coming up with new versions of it, and people will still eat it up. I love that. I believe it's ever since Quiplash 2 that you can even make your own questions. Not a lot of people that necessarily that I've seen that take advantage of that. But the fact that you can make your own questions too makes this a no-brainer as the one that has the most replay value of any of the games in the series.
Nice. Well, there we have it. The top 33 Jackbox mini games.
We got through it, Joe.
Got through the whole thing. I know you got another list.
Soup. I came down here with soup. It's cold now.
It's cold soup.
I'm going to have to reheat it. I'm okay with that, though.
Well, you're going to have to reheat it in another 5-10 minutes because we got to know in order from 8 to 1.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you, too, because what I ended up doing with this is this whole time I've been looking at an Excel spreadsheet that I've got in front of me where I gave points to the games based on their rankings.
So you have mathematically, in order, the worst to the best Jackbox Party Packs.
And I think we should go from the worst to the best, too.
Yes.
There's some surprises in there. Now, here's one of the things that I did to try to make it more even. If you had Quiplash in there, it is really almost not fair for that one to end up doing better just because of the fact that it's got a Quiplash when maybe it's an inferior version of Quiplash that you wouldn't play as much as the others.
Yeah.
So what I did is I subtracted 5 points for a sequel that is older than the one before it.
There you go.
And I felt like that was probably my best method that I had. And when I looked at it, I'm like, okay, yeah, this makes sense now. Because otherwise, Jackbox Party Pack 1 was pretty damn strong, which it deserves to be somewhat strong. But I was looking at it, it's like, I don't think it's as good of a value in 2021 as it's appearing on my list.
Yeah.
So I've got to do something that's going to balance this a little bit. So based on that, with a total of 77 points, the weakest of all of the Jackbox Party Pack series is Jackbox Party Pack 2.
We have
Quiplash.
Fuck you, Party Packs 2.
Now, here's the thing. Your strongest games in that one, you've got Quiplash XL and you've got Fibbage 2. Those are fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Those alone end up giving you a lot of those 77 points come from those two games. Bidiots is the third best, but then it gets torpedoed because it has both Earwax and Bomb Core. Earwax ranked 26th, Bomb Core ranked 29th. So it's got two of the worst games on my list that really torpedoed this one.
All right, number 7.
Number 7 with a score of 80 points, we've got the Jackbox Party Pack 5, which was initially the one that was the lowest overall. But when I did my adjustments, 2 got dropped.
Fuck you, Party Pack 5.
Right? You know what it's got going for it is it's got the You Don't Know Jack, the 8-player You Don't Know Jack, and it's got Mad vs. City.
Yeah.
In a way, that tells you, wow, it had Mad vs. City and it's that low? Yeah, because the other games are Split the Room, which is okay. Patently Stupid, which is, it's the 22nd, I believe. Yeah, 22nd game. But it's got Zeeple Dome, which is the single worst game that's been made for it. And that torpedoed the hell out of the Party Pack 5.
What's
totally
next?
Torpedoed. We have coming in with 86 points. The 6th best is Jackbox Party Pack 1, which is exactly where I believe this one belongs. You have Fibbage XL, which is really solid. You have Drawful, which is solid. You have You Don't Know Jack 2015, which is solid. But all 3 of those games have sequels that are better on other party packs, which is why I felt like it needed to be lower. And you have Licewater, which I personally like a lot. I love Licewater. I've seen Licewater get really terrible ones where people put it as one of the worst games just because it's just true or false. Did I even cover Licewater? Somehow I may have jumped over Licewater earlier.
I don't remember if you covered Licewater.
I think somehow we ended up skipping Licewater, but it's number 15th. It's just true or false questions is really what it is. I think my ranking had somehow gotten skewed where it wasn't in the right order. So to clarify, at number 17 was Survive the Internet. 16 was Pole Mine. 15 was Licewater. 14 was Blather Round. 13 was Role Models. Gotcha. There we go. That fixes it a little bit right there. But Licewater was 15. You can even play Licewater on your Amazon Echo if you've got one. Where you end up saying, well, it works out. It's like, Alexa, play Licewater. And then you're just answering true or false. It's, to me, one of the only Jackbox style games that you can play with your Echo. That's pretty cool.
Can't go wrong with it then.
But it's got Word Spud in Jackbox Party Pack 1. And again, that torpedoes it because it's the second worst game that they've put out.
No.
All right.
What's next?
Brings us to the 5th best. That's Jackbox Party Pack 4 has a score of 88. We have Fibbage 3 in there. We have Civic Doodle. Those are both pretty solid. But then you get the bottom 3 there. Survive the Internet, Bracketeering, and Monster Seeking Monster. All 3 of those are mediocre at best. And it drags it down pretty good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Number 4.
Number 4, we have the Jackbox Party Pack 6, which has got Trivia Murder Party 2, which is fantastic. Joke Boat. Somehow I feel like I didn't talk about Joke Boat either.
I don't remember that one either. Did we skip things?
I must have skipped things. I'm being so thorough. We've talked for so long, and yet I've skipped things. So Joke Boat's number 9. I just need to go back through all of these, don't I? Now, I don't need to talk about all of them, but Joke Boat, you're just completing jokes. It's my number 9. It's my number 9. I don't know.
Joke Boat was fun.
Yeah, Joke Boat's fantastic again with the right group of friends because, you're having to either perform the jokes yourself or have the computer do it. And if the computer does it, then you lose part of the fun. But we probably play Joke Boat just about as often as we play Quiplash in my group. So,
that's another one where it's better with the friends because you're performing it yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Trivia Murder Party 2, Joke Boat, and Role Models, which is my one that I think is better than people think. But then on the bottom we have Push the Button and Dictionarium that are both pretty average at best.
Number 3?
We have number 3 happens to be the Jackbox Party Pack 3.
I was wondering if we were going to get any like that.
Yeah, it's the only one that is, from what I can tell here, and it's 90 points. We have Quiplash 2, which is a killer. We have Trivia Murder Party, which is a killer. We have TKO. You caught that, good. And then we have TKO, which is also amazing. That's a trifecta of awesomeness.
That is.
On the lower end of it, what prevents it from doing better is that Gaspionage is on there, which is pretty low ranked, and Faking It, which is near the bottom.
Still a good package, though.
Oh, it's quite good. But here's the crazy part. We're on the final two. I don't know if you've been keeping track with it, but
7 and 8.
7 and 8 are our remainders that we've got here. And coming in at number 2 with 105 points is the Jackbox Party Pack 7.
Ooh.
We've got Quiplash 3. We got The Devil in the Details that I gave an unfairly high score to. I personally love it more than it probably deserves.
Yes.
But that was my way of acting naughty, was giving it a higher ranking than it deserves. Blather Round is pretty good. On the lower end, you've got Champed Up and you've got Talking Points. The trick here is that there's no severely bad, obviously bad game in this bunch. The lowest ranked one on my list is Champed Up, and it's still a pretty damn solid game, coming in at number 21.
Nice. Which means number 1 is number 8.
The newest one with 115 points, 10 points than the previous game before it, is the Jackbox Party Pack 8, the newest one. All the more reason to call this one a buy it, because we've got the new Drawful enemy.
So this was an hour and a half to just say buy it.
Yeah, it's the biggest buy it thing ever.
It's the best review ever.
I am so surprised too, because I really I figured for sure whatever the top one was definitely going to have Quiplash as part of it. Well, here's the trick: the second and third party packs, Jackbox Party Pack 7 and Party Pack 3, both have Quiplash. The third best one has a Trivia Murder Party game. The fourth best has a Trivia Murder Party game. But what we have with this newest one is just a group of solid games, and there's not a bad one in the bunch. When your worst one, Weapons Drawn, took 23rd out of 33, to me at least, that means that your worst game of the bunch is middle of the pack.
Yeah.
And that's pretty solid.
That is pretty solid. Although Wuggus says we should have just put everything into a game of bracketeering.
Right?
Yeah.
See, and if we'd done that,
would have been a lot quicker, too.
It would have been so much quicker. Although I don't think there's 33 things that fit for that, if I'm not mistaken.
Could have done 2 games or something. I don't know.
That would have been...
We would have figured it out. I don't know.
That's cool. How many people are even watching on Twitch? I should have been looking over at that.
Twitch right now, we got about 10 viewers hanging out.
Wow! Hello, 10 viewers.
A lot of people hanging out, chatting with us, saying hi, listening to your...
Yeah, hope I haven't pissed you off too much there. I'm sure Devil in the Details did that. But again, I stand by my assessment that I was being naughty, and Joe caught me and got the points.
Hey, that's how it is. You got to do what you got to do. But all right, Glenn, thank you so much for coming on and chatting about the Jackbox games. We're going to take a quick commercial break.
Awesome.
Gonna play some
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, we're going to take commercials. Yeah, and then we'll be back with more show, so stick around. We will be back with a PartyCast. Glenn, do you have any final words before we wrap this up?
Fuck all y'all. So I'm going to explain that, which means that wasn't my last words, but I just thought of Ice Cube's "The End You Love to Hate" from his album America's Most Wanted, where they ask, "You got any of the last words?" Yeah, I got some last words. Fuck all y'all.
In these uncertain and troubled times of uncertainty, we stand together with our workplace heroes who make the wettest pancakes either side of the Mississippi flow straight to your dinner table with our exclusive curbside pickup. Joe Cam's Pancake House. Wet pancakes, no matter what.
You think I'm ready to work for Jellyvision, right?
Jellyvision? What the heck is Jellyvision?
You don't know about Jellyvision? What? Well, you don't know Jack.
Oh, wait a minute. Jellyvision. They're the creative geniuses that put together the You Don't Know Jack games, right?
Yeah, that's them.
So what do you think?
Sure, you could work for them.
Oh, thank you.
As a janitor.
Why, you lousy, good-for-nothing, stinky piece of rotten, filthy donkey crap, I hate you! Jellyvision needs janitors.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for sticking around. Another huge thanks to Glenn Case for coming on and talking about Jackbox for a whopping 90 minutes.
That's a lot to talk about Jackbox.
I shit you not. We spent 90 minutes discussing all of the party packs and all of the games in all of the party packs. And he ranked them.
That's a bit much.
And it was his idea.
Yeah, ranking. I'm not too terrible with ranking stuff. More about I can measure something in its own like bubble, and sometimes compare one against the other. But if you're like, take these 10 things and rank them, like, nope, they're all something. Joy, whatever.
I like kind of putting like tiering things better. So you group them by like general level of quality rather than trying to work out 1 through 50 or whatever. It's like,
I'll admit I've never tried that, but I have experience where like people will like post something like that and I go, yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah. It's just easier for me to say rather than like say like, oh, what is the best Metroidvania game? It's more like, here are like the 6, 7, 8 like best ones.
Really good ones.
Like
yeah.
Yeah, they're all fucking great. So like,
put them in order. No.
Like, no, you don't care. You don't need to know what the number one is. That's actually kind of irrelevant. You need to know what the best ones are that you should play. So,
if anything, when it comes to something like that genre, I'd be more interested in what the crappy ones are. I feel like I haven't really played a
Super
bad
Metroid,
one before.
that game sucks.
Yeah, worst Metroidvania ever. Which, for the record, I found it hysterical that Metroid Dread comes out and reviewers and documentation is describing Metroid Dread as a Metroidvania.
No, it's a Metroid.
Exactly. But they were describing it as a Metroidvania, which makes no damn sense. But I laughed and enjoyed it. And that was that. Clearly, they don't even know.
Are there vampires in it now?
She can level up her equipment. You know that? She gets experience points.
Really?
No.
Oh.
But that's just I mean,
just because I bought it doesn't mean I had a chance to play it yet, but I plan to this week sometime.
I started it today because I've heard enough people talk about how great it was, but I also have like 2 friends who are calling it like the worst game they've played in ages or whatever. So I was like,
they haven't played many games then.
Yeah.
Well, no, I won't go with that, but their reasoning is still pretty bad in that their reasoning was just that they don't like the frenetic pacing of it now, as far as like when you're being chased by an Emmy. And I'm like, okay, on one hand, I get that, but at the same time, that's not the game being bad. That's a change you didn't like, which is cool.
Yes.
I respect that.
Yes.
But the game is good. Like, I booted it up today for lunch break and just putzed around with it. Ooh. And like the only thing I had issue with as far as like control so far is like having the dexterity to pull off that Omega launcher in a tense situation. But otherwise, I mean, the slide button's in a good place. The gun is in a good place. The melee even makes more sense than I expected it to. I thought the melee would be stupid, but in this case, it's like, okay, if I got to shoot this thing that's crawling on the floor and I don't want to aim low for it or stop and duck, I can just run and melee smash it and keep my momentum going. That's good. If the enemy's flying at me,
the melee in particular is something they improved quite a bit from Samus Returns, because it was in there, but it didn't have like that little bit of momentum to it where you just kind of melee through things and keep moving. Like you would stop and you'd have to like wait a second for the enemy to get up its gravy to attack you, and then you'd counter it. And also in this, like the enemies generally get to doing that spark. It's all so much faster, so it feels better to me. It has a better rhythm to it.
Yeah, like that bat when he was doing, because I'm only in the early areas, and the bat when he did it, it was like he sees me, he blinks, he's like, time to counter. It's I better wait for this counter to kick in. It actually happens at a pace where it makes feasible sense to use the melee counter instead of preferring to use the gun. Mm-hmm. So I was good for that. I was like, okay, timing, bam. And also, I know the Emmy counter to survive is meant to be hard, and I think it is more or less. But I was shocked not the tutorial first time, but the first time he actually caught me on a run, I pulled it off. And I'm sort of thinking like, okay, maybe I do have the timing in a sense down. Like I did die the second time, but I also kind of did like a panic button press and not, okay, logically, this might be the reasonable time to do it.
The timing changes.
Oh, it does between like each ME is like differently built differently, so their timing will change.
I think it's different by ME. Like some are faster, some of them stare at you longer, so you can't just count on knowing the timing.
Okay, yeah, because this one I was like, okay, logically, what makes sense? He opens his shell, his eyes exposed, and he starts to move his arms like, there it is, boom, and the hitter's like, oh, it worked, hey, and he's like, okay, so. In that regard, it's like I like the idea of the chase. I like the fact that I was under pressure to like figure out which way to go. Don't stop now. Don't stop now. Mm-hmm. And the only part I got screwed up on was I kept having this habit where I would grab a ledge and rather than pull myself up, I would jump back because I was doing it wrong. I was like, damn it, now I'm back down with him. But if I nail that, it's like, no, I was getting down. Like he's coming up and like, stop, shoot, duck, slide. Like this is where it's at. This is the level. I love this pacing. A guy described it to me as being like the Mega Man X of Metroid. And I was like, I can see that now because it has that frenetic pacing when she's running around.
The Mega Man X of Metroidvanias.
No, you dare. Don't you do that.
Not Mega Man ZX.
Carnage in chat saying
Metroidvania.
Carnage in chat saying if they don't know Metroid is the original Metroidvania, I dread reading their reviews.
Well, it's just that though. It's not even the Metroidvania. Like
you didn't, not even phased by the pun. Pernell just walks right through it.
I've got my various suit on. What do you expect?
Completely unfazed.
It's like I don't know. Like, I get. It's almost like that's like my hot button game topic is the Metroidvania concept. It riles me up. Everything is out. Everything is out. Because Metroidvania is on deck. I gotta be there with this shit. We gotta talk. What is this?
Talking about Metroidvania, a game that sells itself as one recently is Recompile, but I found this game to be a little weird, says Thimber in chat. Has anyone played Recompile?
I mean, I literally reviewed it for the show.
I can't remember shit like that, Tim.
If you remember the episode, I might have to go back and listen because now I'm curious about this Recompile.
I didn't care for it that much. It had some cool ideas, but it had some problems as well. It's on Game Pass, so you can check it out.
There you go. I do. I did that thing where you updated a account to it or something, so I should be good to try it. In that case, now I'm curious. So,
write that fucker down and give it a download. Recompile.
But I think as far as this show goes so far, Metroid Dread is a quality title. I've had people say it's the best Metroid they've played of the bunch. And I don't want to, weird as this may sound, I don't want to trust that statement just yet.
That's a wild statement to make, yeah.
And the thing is, I can understand why they'd make it, but the problem is they're coming off of the high. Like, you play through this game you really like, you wrap up the credits like, oh my God, this is the best shit ever. Give it a couple days, give it a month, let it simmer a bit. And now that you're off that kick, come back and revisit. Now, what do you think of it? Is it still better than Super Metroid? Because admittedly, as it paces right now, I can honestly see it being better than all the ones but Metroid from Super Metroid. But that's up to the back and even top that too. I don't know. I haven't gotten far enough to make that call, but I can already.
It's very good.
It's like we were talking about ranking and rating. It's like, I think it's already better. But I don't know.
And I still haven't played it, so I can't even contribute to this discussion. Because I was too busy spending my weekend having kidney stones.
I spent my weekend playing
sodas, more water.
I'm drinking water tonight, Pernell. I got the water tonight, Pernell. But I'm the only idiot who would like lead the show in with songs like "I'm So Sick," "Sick, Sick, Sick," and "Like a Stone." Just
I was gonna say we shouldn't play "Like a Stone," but then there you go, you said it.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you can't laugh at yourself, what can you laugh at?
You?
Yeah, I spent a lot of my weekend playing. I spent a lot of my weekend playing Back 4 Blood, and that was awesome. So
you enjoying it?
Yeah, I like it a lot. And I've sold like 4 Game Pass subscriptions since.
Oh, geez.
People bought it specifically to play more Back 4 Blood, or they bought it so they could play.
Well, it was like me and my one. See, I had it on Game Pass, and
Do you want to just give it another review because Aki reviewed it last episode? You could just give it another one if you want.
Did they like it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I really like it as well. But no, I'll just review Game Pass, I guess. Well, it was like, I had it on Game Pass, and my friend had pre-ordered it on Steam and like bought like the Super Edition for like $90, and we sit down the first night, and it's just like me and him, and I'm like getting ready and talking about my Game Pass stuff, and he's like, "So tell me more about this Game Pass." I'm like, "Well, it's a subscription thing. Just look it up." He's like, "Oh, I can start for $1," and he's like. Then he starts looking through the library of games, and he's like, okay, I'm refunding this on Steam and buying like a year of Game Pass. And then like shortly thereafter, somebody else signs on and they're like, oh man, I want to play Back 4 Blood, but I can't afford it. And they're like, can you afford $1? And then you have to explain Game Pass, like, no, it's a subscription, you don't own the game, but still it's $1. So there, $1 spent. Then like another hour later, like somebody else, oh, I can't afford it right now. Can you afford $1? And so yeah, like just in that cascade of 4 people signed up for Game Pass to play Back 4 Blood. But it's great. It's a great, basically sequel to Left 4 Dead 2. Without being a sequel to Left 4 Dead 2.
No.
But it's
a successor.
Yeah, it's that. And it's, I have played Left 4 Dead 2 within the last couple of years because that game still holds up and is awesome and is a lot of fun. And, Back 4 Blood in a nutshell just, modernizes that whole formula and is still a lot of fun.
You bet your sweet bippy.
Mm-hmm. But we have new games to review.
We
right?
do have new games to review.
How about you say that as if Back 4 Blood didn't come out like a week ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we already reviewed
this
it on
old
the show,
shit
so
like Back 4
news,
Blood.
That's the magic.
Oh, man. Well, you ready to get to reviews then? Should we start these?
We should.
Let's get this party down.
All right. First game to talk about tonight is Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, the Hinokami Chronicles. I'm sure I ruined all that. Developed by CyberConnect 2, published by SEGA, released October 15th on Xbox One, Series X and S, PS4, PS5, and PC for $59.99. Become the blade that destroys demons. Pernell, tell us about Demon Slayer.
So short copy, my God.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, there's not much to say. Like Demon Slayer, if at this point, if you like anime, you know what the hell Demon Slayer is, and if you don't like anime, just skip this review because woof. But just for the sake of it, you play as a kid named Tanjiro, and essentially the whole idea is that he is a child who lived in the country who. Unfortunately, on a journey to visit, to run some errands, he comes home to his family being massacred by demons. And in the process of trying to save the one relative that seemed to be alive, turns out she's become a demon. And there's a bit of a, tense encounter there where he's concerned that she's going to kill him. And then a demon slayer shows up to help him. And through a series of events after that, he decides that he finds that he can actually potentially save his sister if he can find the original demon that turned her. So he starts to go on a long journey to become a demon slayer himself, and that is essentially the story of Demon Slayer. He becomes a demon and he goes on a quest to find the original demon, slay him, and rescue his sister, who is it's pretty much a demon, but has not gone towards like the killing intent area of it or not. The gameplay, however, is essentially a lot like other CyberConnect games in that it is telling the story of Demon Slayer in video game form. In the case of this, it plays through the narrative of season 1 of the anime and also the Mugen Train movie. So you might be hearing me and thinking, well, I could just play this game and not watch the anime. And I would say, while you could do that, I would feel that if you're doing so with intent to pick up the narrative, you'd be missing some beats by doing so, because just like with most games of this nature, it conveys the basic plot, but it loses some things because it doesn't put the entire show in the game. It just puts key elements or key moments in, So the way the progress works in this game is that it's broken up into chapters, starting with after Tanjiro finishes training with had to talk about mispronouncing names. Basically, the big nose dude or Orogdaki or whatever. I hate Japanese names. I don't know. Anyway, point is, he finishes his training and he goes off on his first mission to basically finish final selection, which is how you get chosen to be a demon slayer. And that's where the game starts. Progress takes place in regards to specific types of missions, notably exploration or narrative missions where you might have to explore an area. Never too complicated. It's usually like a few pathways, some people walking around, or just a general space where you need to get from point A to point B. But in the process of walking around this locale, you can do a few things. There might be some submissions where you might have to talk to certain people or find a few specific things, which are kind of noted actually on the mini-map. But if you find all the MacGuffins that relate to that side mission, you'll unlock a player portrait or like a little bonus thing at the end of the level. But aside from that, you'll be doing that. There will be moments where you need to do like sort of like sniff searches. So Tanjiro's, one of his skills is that he's got a ridiculously keen sense of smell. Like he can smell demons and somehow he can smell emotions. But essentially there might be a moment where you have to like hit like the R2 button to activate sniff mode or scent mode, and he'll be following trails with that. It's kind of funny, but I always thought it was funny in the anime too. Like, how do you smell feelings? And then aside from that, the last thing that will happen in these other areas is pretty much battles, which is the other aspect of the game. So every once in a while, you'll come across what I always consider like a side encounter where like they just kind of created some random demons for the game for the sake of having these battles, where they'll just plunk you into a battle sequence. And when the battles take place, it's actually like a 3D fighting game. It's usually 1 versus 1 or 1 versus many. But what ends up happening is you have a light attack combo, you have a chase dash, which allows you to kind of run up on an enemy and start brawling with them. You have a grab attack, and you have essentially like a special attack button or the heavy attack button, which you can use in combination with up, down, or still to do special attacks and skills. But as you do all these things, you will eventually also build up a charge bar, which can be used to activate boost mode. Boost being increasing your attack power and speed, which can then be led to a surge, which is also more power. Or you can do like a super, like ultra attack or an ultra art by filling the entire bar and then burning it out. And then the last aspect that happens with battles is eventually you gain access to like support characters. So you can either like tag yourself out and end with a character you have either for a story mission or a selected character for special missions. Or you can just bring them into like kind of rescue you from a major attack or do like a support attack like Marvel Capcom 2. So it may sound like the battles are complicated based on all the rambling I just did, but actually they're not very complicated at all. The gameplay is really simple, which is good if you're just coming in because you like the anime and you just want to beat up on some demon jerks. But if you're the type who needs to play like, hardy fighting games with tense and complicated mechanics, you are not getting that here. And I'm sorry to be the bearer of that news for you. Doesn't make the game bad, though. If anything, it's kind of a nice little break or reprieve from complicated beat 'em ups. You just want to play a wacky go game, or it's not even wacky really, because it's got a serious plot. Except for frickin' Zangetsu and this frickin' I want to cry every 5 seconds. I hate that damn character. Anyway, you basically are just, it's like a nice light and breezy game. When you get through a level or a series of battles in a level, you'll get a final grade on how well you did between all the levels or all the aspects of the stage. And depending on your grade, you can unlock like Kimetsu points or aspects of like picture panels that are broken up by chapter. Think like Smash Brothers panels, where if you unlock all the tiles on an image, you will unlock a special image, but each individual tile also unlocks a special bonus. The bonus could be, like a profile picture, which you can use in online battles. It could be a quote. It could be, like a costume for a character to wear in battle. Just various little customizable bits and baubles. And in addition, I forgot to mention, so while you're in those exploration areas, you can also sometimes find like memory fragments. And those memory fragments will unlock like special panels in the storyline viewer as you're going through like from level to level. And they will just give you extra story bits. Like, for example, in the beginning of the game, you'll just go to natural. So you'll go to final selection after talking to your mentor. But if you unlock a memory fragment in one of the levels, it might be a memory fragment that reveals some dialogue that he had with his master explaining what final selection was, or like how he met his master and what got him on the road. Basically just extra bits of the anime you can unlock to see. But for the most part, I feel like the game itself is still fun. And if you like Demon Slayer, I think that's a major component because I'll probably be the rare guy in this review of the game that people will give it out in the wild. In that I feel like if you didn't have interest in Demon Slayer before, this game might not do it for you, only because it's not the most meaty and brutal. Like it's like a heavy fighter. It's very light on the content, but it's great as a refresher to Demon Slayer if you've already seen the show. Like it's a good way to revisit the story without having to sit through all the episodes. It's an interactive way to experience the story. But I don't think this is a way to experience the story by itself. It's not a slight on CyberConnect because it is a fun game to play. Just, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I just feel like if I'm going to experience it, I need to experience it from the original content, either anime or manga, and then come back to this. But don't take that as a bad review, though.
Yeah, well,
I think it's a good game.
As the game stands at $60, what are your thoughts on it?
I think it's a definite try. I'd say, actually, who am I kidding? I'll go with go with a try. But if you've already seen Demon Slayer, though, I'd give it a buy because, again, I think the game is great and I love Demon Slayer. So, again, this is just a fun, interactive way to experience the story again going into season 2, which just started.
And if people are interested in the game, they should check out the anime as well?
Oh, absolutely. The anime is baller.
Cool. Maybe I will give that one a look. I've never gotten into too many anime, but I've tried to be open-minded and give them shots. Nothing ever clicks for me.
The main issue with Demon Slayer, so I'm warning you in advance if you genuinely are interested in it, is I love the story. I love the main plight of the main character. The only thing that annoys me is his 2 supporting friends can drive me bonkers as the way it's how they talk. But when they get down to business, it's fantastic, which is why I was able to get through the entire thing.
Well, anyway, going from fighter to fighter, the next game to talk about is Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, developed by Ludosity and Fair Play Labs, published by GameMill Entertainment, released October 5th on Xbox One, Series X and S, Switch, PS4, PS5, and PC for $49.99. Brawl It Out is your favorite Nickelodeon characters on bombastic platform battles with a power pack cast of heroes from the Nickelodeon universe. Face off with all-stars from SpongeBob SquarePants, Ninja Turtles, The Loud House, Danny Phantom, Real Monsters, The Wild Thornberries, Hey Arnold, Rugrats, and more to determine ultimate animation dominance. Tim, tell us about your time with Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl.
The Loud House. Okay. That's what that is. I didn't know what some of them were.
Yeah, I didn't know The Loud House.
Yeah, that's a more recent show, so that's,
But for the older people like us, they cover a lot of ground.
Yeah, it's this game is a predator for your nostalgia is what this game is. Definitely when they first revealed it caught a lot of eyes. Once it was like when you saw it and you're like, oh my god, it's SpongeBob, it's Reptar, it's these old start going back to the 90s, I guess. Not that certain shows and franchises have not pervaded past that point, but for people my age were watching Nickelodeon when the likes of Nicktoons came into fruition, and when Rugrats first debuted, and when Ren and Stimpy first debuted, and stuff like that. And it looks like, oh my god, it's Smash Brothers, but it's with all of these old, not all old, but all these characters that you recognize, because even it's like everybody knows who SpongeBob is, and everyone knows who the Ninja Turtles are, which is just kind of a thing that swerves you. That's like, oh, Nickelodeon owns Ninja Turtles, right? So you get 2 out of 4. You get Leonardo and Michelangelo. So they went with the 2 worst turtles.
Hey, fuck you! Fuck you!
I said what I said. Shit. It's my review. Shut up. What I say is gospel.
Leonardo's the goddamn leader, and you're going to respect him.
Oh my god! Michelangelo, I'll give you that.
Leonardo is the worst. Oh my
Shit.
god!
He takes all the weight. He takes all the weight of his turtle burdens.
Nobody, you fucking narc. You like Leonardo, you're a cop.
Narc. I've never heard that by the way. Leonardo is the narc of the team.
But we can all come together and appreciate that April O'Neil is playable in this game, for which I saw it as her first time actually being playable in a video game, which seems insane, but may be the truth.
She's awesome in it too.
Yeah, and she has her yellow jumpsuit on there. Zim from Invader Zim. Like right before the game came out, I saw they announced that they put some Avatar Last Airbender characters in there. You get Aang and Toph and Korra, which is cool because I really like that show. Some stuff in the middle, Wild Thornberries was after my time. I didn't even know what the Loud House was. I didn't know what Danny Phantom was. I do recognize Cat Dog. Hey Arnold was slightly towards the end of my time watching Nickelodeon. But either way, so yeah, this is a platform fighter. If you are familiar with Super Smash Brothers, you will be kind of familiar. Well, you'll be intimately familiar with the ideas behind this game, and that you are put on a stage. You hop around. There's a lot of jumping about. What modes are in this game are very familiar. Once you go into a brawl, it's like, oh, stock battle, oh, timed battle, and then there's a sports battle, which is slightly different. But it's when you talk about stock and time battles, that is your that's Smash language right there, is what that is. And characters will get in there, they'll do damage to each other. A percent meter will go up, and once the higher their damage, the more they will float off the screen. And if you fall off the stage, then you lose a stock or you lose a point, depending on whether you are playing points or whatever. It's that. It's exactly what you think it is. The difference on sports mode is it has balls that you have. It puts up a goal on either side of the screen, and two teams will compete to hit a ball through the goal. So that's a different thing. But that's like the only real different thing. The game is, before I really get deep into the fighting itself, the game is really light on modes. Like if you have been spoiled by Smash Ultimate in recent years, and it's insane amount of content, like this will bring you back down to earth. It's like, yes, each character has a stage, basically, is how it works out. But there's 3 modes. There's not like there's 3 different modes to a Smash, or not a Smash. Excuse me, I can't say that; they'll sue. To a Brawl. But then outside of and that's like your the main button on the menu. But then there is, for single player content, there is an arcade mode, which just drops you in, gives you a series of random stages until you are done. There isn't any kind of a boss encounter, and when you are done, you will unlock some art for the gallery, and that is it. That's it. And like before a battle, characters will have like not even a line of spoken dialogue, just a written line that they will say, and there was just a real opportunity to have these characters, interact with each other in any way whatsoever. But it's like, Toph is just like, I'm a great earthbender. And Patrick from SpongeBob is just like, nobody calls me fat. It's like, it's just total non sequitur. Like, yep, you just pulled up a line and they said it. So unless, but there is online play, that is,
Does it work?
It's functional, but it's not like rollback netcode, so it's only so functional, right? Like it's okay, it's solid, but your mileage is going to vary depending on. It's not the most popular game, I guess, is where I'm getting with this, and that you're not having like tons and tons of people online playing. So probably most of its
function. I'm reading it's supposed to use rollback.
Oh, it does have rollback. My bad. I
don't know what that means personally, but
that is. I'm not even going to get into a whole that is the preferred fighting game netcode, just because it makes things, gives the perception of things functioning better. It's more that I was just having trouble finding matches, and the game hasn't even been out that long. But maybe that's just me and trying to find matches on weekend mornings. So, but it's there. And I think at this point, anybody knows that, the longevity of any game's online presence is hit or miss. So, but I think mostly you're going to have the fun playing with, friends online, or playing with friends locally. But playing the game is definitely a bit disappointing, I guess I'd say. So the characters you have a jump button, unlike the game that it's very similar to. You can't hit up to just jump up in the air, which turns out to be a real thing that I'm used to, but that's fine. You have a button to jump, and you have 3 attack buttons. One's a light attack, one is a heavy attack, and one is a special attack. At least that was my read on it. The game is not very forthcoming in explaining exactly what the things do. So it's like it has a move list for a character, but I don't know exactly what button does what. Like there isn't a point where it explains like, oh, this is what this button is. This is what it's for. This is what this button is. So it takes trial and error just to kind of figure that stuff out. And as it plays out, like pushing in, a different direction, pressing up or down with the button will generate a different attack or special attack, as the case may be, not unlike Smash. But just like the movement and the kind of the weight of the characters is very herky-jerky. Like the frame rate of this game was not super smooth. And I am playing this on an Xbox One X, so it's not the most optimal video game system to be playing things on anymore, which is a crazy thing to say, I guess. Like how quickly the last gen of consoles are falling out of favor. But just like I did not find the frame rate of the characters moving around to be very smooth. And they didn't have like a good weight to them. So I was having a tough time really like having a good sense of control and movement on my character and setting up attacks and trying to do combos. 'Cause it felt like a lot of attacks I would just hit and the other character would go flying. Maybe that's me using a lot of projectile characters, but game balance between the characters seems kind of dubious. I was like, just like Toph has some moves that are like ridiculous with their range and their hit area. But it was just kind of a bit of a rough feel overall to mainly the movement. And that's tough when you have a platform fighter.
No.
It's not terrible by any means. It's just like not up to kind of a real, like, it didn't have me going like, man, this feels really good,
Yeah. Pernell, you played this one too. What are your thoughts?
Honestly, I feel like as far as the gameplay is concerned, it's very quick paced and snappy. There's going to be balancing issues for sure, as far as like some characters that need they're a little broken. Like they had just revealed one for Michelangelo, which I didn't even realize, where like he can infinite jump essentially. He played great. Yeah. But that kind of comes with the territory, unfortunately, these kinds of games. No matter how into the fighting game community you are, you're not going to release a perfect build. It's just not happening. So there will be balancing issues. But as far as the gameplay is concerned, I think it's funny. Like, while some people would say they don't like it compared to Smash because it doesn't have things like items and all that, or like more like shifting changes. Yeah. By that same token, a lot of people go into Smash Brothers, which has those things, and go out of their way to turn all of it off. Mm-hmm. So it's like this game was pretty much made with the idea of being like, we're designing this
wet pancakes,
like a straight up fighter, but with these kinds of characters. Though they do have a level akin to Pokeplus, which I thought was pretty funny. Like the items floating across the screen. You had to jump from item to item. If anything, I feel like the main real hurdle it's going to have for people is the lack of like character appeal. And when I say that, I mean that Nickelodeon characters are great and all, but generally when you play, say, something like Smash Brothers, it's not just the characters that you can use that makes the difference. It's hearing them talk. It's getting the interactions with them. Yep. It's all the audible cues. And this game has none of it. And it's a shame because you would think Nickelodeon would have said, hey guys, we want you to make this game. We're going to put some money behind it so you can have some voices too. But without those voices, it takes a huge ding to me. Like, it doesn't hurt the gameplay, but it hurts the nostalgia and, character draw element that these games usually sell on. There has been rumor mill stuff saying that the success of the game, if it's successful, could lead, Nickelodeon to like give them money to like some updates that would include voice work and stuff like that. But as it stands now, not having it, I think is a major ding on it. But the game itself,
which leads me to one thing, is that I think the best platform for this right now might be PC because of the mods that give it voice acting.
Oh, that's a good point. Have they already started working with that?
There's already mods, yeah.
There it is. Maybe someone can mod in Alex Mack while we're at it, because damn it, that makes me mad. They were actually considering her, but their claim was that since she wasn't an animated character, she can't count. Like, screw that. She could have been there. They could have put Artie, the strongest man in the world.
Donkey Lips.
Even Donkey Lips. So I feel like it'd been better if it was ugly. But
no, Donkey Lips is a right-wing chud now. You don't want him in the game.
Oh, is he? Fuck.
Get Ugg or Bobby Butnick. There you go. But I would take all those characters, but they were like, nope, not animated. But Alex Mack would have been perfect. She transforms into shit. She's a freaking slime kid. Like,
I want Clarissa to explain it all over their asses.
She would have been a good announcer or narrator. That would have been a thing. Like, oh, look at this, such and such. That'd have been cool.
Carnage saying always a chance for DLC. I believe they confirmed 2 DLC characters are going to be coming. And
one of which is Garfield.
Is it? I've heard rumors
supposedly
that it was.
Yeah. I guess nothing has been confirmed. There's been data mining to show that allegedly Garfield and Shredder are planned for the game. There's the list. I mean, I guess cover your ears if you're sensitive, but wait, those are all the characters that are in it. Yeah, Jimmy Neutron, Plankton, Mr. Krabs, Squidward, Tommy Pickles, Vlad Plasmius, Zuko from Avatar. Oh, and Rocco. Yeah, I was about to say this game needs Rocco.
Goddamn right it needs Rocco.
Hopefully Heifer, too. Also Heifer.
Anyways, okay, so to bring it back to the game that exists as it stands right now.
Yeah, it's $50. What do the... Oh, no, you have more to say?
Yeah, well, a little bit, yeah.
Go for
just kind of Pernell talking a bit about kind of the what isn't there and what the expectation is. Like, kind of my feeling... there was a lot of excitement that I think like people got kind of excited about this game and as it was showing. And then like starting at playing it, maybe be like, oh, right, this is just like, a licensed game. And it wasn't really, it doesn't have more effort behind it and funding than, most of those licensed games that no one pays that much attention to, except for the fact this has a cool hook to it. So it got a lot more attention. But it's still, lacking the voice acting. It's really lacking in the modes department. I would like to see, a more robust, story single player with these characters interacting. That's what it really just needs across the board is characters interacting. This game is probably is going to be most worthwhile for someone who has friends to play the game with, either locally or online to get in there with these characters. The cast is sizable enough, and there's enough stages that you're not going to get bored playing with friends very quickly. You're going to have fun, but by yourself, there is not as much meat to it.
It's good, but there was the potential for so much more.
And I think that that potential is still there. Who knows what'll happen with this? Maybe they'll do DLC. Maybe they'll be like, oh man, maybe we need to do a sequel and really go a little more ham on it now that we, kind of laid this brickwork and this is a thing that people actually want. Then we need enlist feedback. But who knows? As it stands, I think, for what, $50, the game is going to be more of a try it / buy it when it's on sale. Cause it is a definitely there is fun to be had here for sure. It's just is it $50 of fun in its current state? That's going to vary depending on, who you have to play games with locally. Or, how many kicks you think you're going to get out of grinding an arcade, a fairly lifeless arcade mode over and over again to unlock not much of anything,
Pernell, thoughts?
I feel like it's the lack of character that really makes it a challenge to push, because for me, I feel like that puts it in sale category, not purchase category. But I also don't like I don't generally want to do the in the sense of like only a certain price. The game itself, as a game, is a sound party brawler. The lack of items and random events does result in a lack of, unexpected chaos. But some people are looking for that in these kinds of games. In which case they're going to be. No, I don't. That's what I'm saying. It's not a matter of. It's a preference thing. Like it's like the idea when someone wants to play Smash with me and they say we're turning off items. I'm like, no, I want
we're not playing Smash.
Yeah, but that's just it. That's just it, though. Like
I want my Pokeballs.
It's the polar opposite in a sense. It's like in Smash, I'm like, no, the game has items. Use them. This game, there are no items, so there's no arguing about turning them off or putting them in. I'm just going to play Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, and that's fun. That'll be fun for me. But if someone's a stickler where they need that stuff, it's worth them knowing, like, well, that's not there for me. But as the idea of like beating people up, using your return attack and all that good stuff, I have a good time playing it. I like beating the crap out of people with April O'Neil. She swings a freaking boom mic. It's awesome. In that regard, I would honestly say it's a buy it, but buy it at your personal value level, your cost value level. Because again,
I know when the game first launched, it was on sale for $40. Unfortunately, it's back up to full price right now, but I'm sure we'll see it back on sale again. So it's either way, you should keep an eye on it.
I would bet dollars to donuts that the holiday season it's going to get a good, maybe like a pretty decent sale. So, or just a buy two get one, slap it into one.
All right. Well, next game to talk about is Sheepo, developed by Kyle Thompson, published by Top Hat Studios. Released October 20th on Xbox One, Series X and S, Switch, PS4, and PS5 for $10.99. Sheepo is a quirky Metroidvania platformer featuring a shape-shifting sheep thing who must traverse an uncharted planet in order to collect samples of each living species for an intergalactic species database. Tim, tell us about your time with Sheepo.
Sheepo! Oh, man. So this game... Wait, how much is it?
$10.99.
Oh, okay. It's $9.99 on Steam. They're charging some console tax on this thing.
Yeah, it happens.
Not very much of a console tax, but a console tax nonetheless. Yeah,
at least it's not like Nakon where they do $10 difference.
Oh yeah. No, there's definitely way shittier ways that this tends to go down. Yeah. So Sheepo, yeah, you are indeed a weird looking sheep thing with legs and no arms. Exploring this planet, it's a 2D side-scrolling Metroidvania. Except there's no combat in this game. There are things that are hostile, but you do not shoot, you do not melee attack, you don't do that stuff. It's purely platforming and other traversal elements that are at play in this game. And just up front, I'll say that is totally fine. There wasn't a moment where I was like, man, I wish I could kill shit. This game is boring. Like, no, it was the platforming and moving your character around. You get a double jump from the start. It's either like right away or almost right away. Within the first 5 minutes of the game right away, if I'm misremembering. But yeah, you can wall jump and double jump, and you get there'll be like these little nodes in the air which you will push a button to interact with. This game you can't remap buttons, which is annoying because jump isn't on A, and that's where I like to have it, but I got over it. Yeah, so you'll interact with one of these nodes, and you will like push the stick in a direction, and your Sheepo will rocket out of it, not in like a barrel in Donkey Kong or something like that. There's other little environmental traversal elements that you'll interact with, like little slingshots and booster stuff. And that's it for like your base movement set. Now, as you go through the game with the aforementioned goal of you have to collect these eggs for a zoological survey, you will gain the ability to transform into other creatures on the planet. So the first one you get, and this is funny because you're playing through like the first area and you see these like birds flapping around and just kind of like, oh, hey, whatever. But then the first ability lets you transform into a bird. So you will jump up near a bird, hit the interact button, and then you will turn into a bird for about 10 to 15 seconds. And you can just fly around. And there are, and that's where the Metroidvania comes in, because as you collect these abilities, suddenly you can go back to other places you've been where you might have seen an animal or a creature hanging out, and now you're like, oh, now I can go and become one of those things and do something to get into a new area. And it's fun and it's cool, and as you unlock more of these shape-shifting abilities, that compounds your platforming challenges, where it's like, okay, I have to wall jump up here, turn into a bird, flap over here with great speed to turn into another bird, bird on up to this place, and double jump over here and bounce off this wall. And then there's some water jets here that I just have to use to manage my elevation, turn into another bird, flap over here, turn into a bone worm, go zipping through tunnels underground and get out before I suffocate, and stuff like that. And it feel, when you're talking about how Nickelodeon All-Stars just kind of felt a little bit off for me, this game does not feel off at all. Like the jump feels good, the way that you wall jump feels good, the double jump feels good, like transforming into all these creatures feels responsive, just generally good physics, good control off the board, which is something you need when you are making a game that is focused on platforming and not combat. And the game, like, they have a good map there that shows you, rooms you've been in, and, areas where you'll see where there's a door off of a room that you have not explored yet. And yeah, you backtrack around, you explore new areas, you can go outside. They have these the main side collectible in this game are feathers, and as you collect feathers, you can use those to unlock more things, some of them silly, some of them useful. As far there's no combat, but your character can still take damage. You by default can take 3 hits before you die and have to go back to a checkpoint or a save point, which are dotted around the world. And your health is represented by this. There's this little glowing wisp that follows you along and changes color as you take hits. So it goes like green, yellow, red. But you can get more health. There are health container pickups also sitting around if you can find them, and expand your health to take more hits. And despite there not being combat, there are boss battles that rely on you to do platforming things to kind of basically you end up like dodging and avoiding the boss for a period of time until you get to a position where it can kill itself, sort of is kind of how it works. God. Yeah, they're tricky in that way. But the main thing is, you can't attack it. So it's just like, stay alive, pay attention, figure it out. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with this weird little game that I had not heard of at all. And it ended up being quite a bit of fun.
Well, it's $11. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely worth buying. It's not quite like, the other, it's the usual Metroid ilk. The whole gimmick of being non-combat focused works and is still fun. And it just has like a good, relaxing look to it, and it's fun to play.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is it for you, Tim. We will let you get going.
How many more reviews you got?
3.
Jesus fucking Christ, Pernell.
2.
Wait, what is the?
He has 2 and I have 1.
Oh, you have
don't
1.
Scare me like that.
Pernell has 4.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will peace out then.
Boy? Just buy the thing. What thing? I don't know, but
yeah, I'll go about my beeswax.
Do you have any final words before we let you go?
Oh man, you're gonna regret asking me that.
That was the final words. There it is.
I would say don't sleepo on Sheepo. You will love it. And you as a female sheep. We got it? Okay, good. All right.
I got that.
Good night.
Terrible. Terrific bliss.
Oh my God.
Terrible bliss.
I thought you were in pain before.
Oh man. I'd rather get more kidney stones than deal with that bullshit again.
Right.
Tore my soul asunder.
That was fantastic.
All right, good. Good night.
Have a good
night.
Next game to talk about is Gloomhaven, developed by Flaming Fowl Studios, published by Asmodee Digital, released October 20th on Steam, out of early access for $34.99. Whether you were drawn to Gloomhaven by the call of adventure or by an avid desire for gold glimmering in the dark, your fate will surely be the same. Gloomhaven, the digital adaptation of the acclaimed board game, mixes tactical RPG and dungeon crawling. Pernell, tell us about your time with Gloomhaven.
I'm going to come in this with an initial lead-in, which is that this game has a lot of modes. More modes than I expected. I stuck with the campaign because, Jesus Christ. But I feel like what I put into this game pretty much already sold me well into what I was expecting, which will give me my consensus already. But the idea behind Gloomhaven is literally the fact that, well, before going into like how the game works, the background for it is that Gloomhaven, for those in the board gaming community, it is a ridiculously large box game that was known far and wide for years. The game retailed for like $200 at one point.
Good Lord.
Massive. It was huge, massive box. I always wanted to play it, but wasn't dropping that cash because I didn't know if I'd ever be able to get people to spend the time with me, because it has campaign aspects to it where you build a party and you go through a series of stages or scenarios, so to say. And you grow your characters, blah, blah, blah. So the idea that this comes out in the digital form for a fraction of that cost already had my interest peaked. So seeing that, was like, hey, you want to talk about it on the show? Yeah. So then that brings us to the present. So what the heck is Gloomhaven in the gameplay form? Well, Gloomhaven is a town, a pretty gnarly town in that it's very gloomy, as the title persists. But you run a guild littered with mercenaries that are pretty much also in Gloomhaven for whatever reasons, and they come together for the sake of this, their own personal goals, mind you, but they come together in a guild to go on a series of quests a la Dungeons and Dragons, to fulfill their general goals and obligations. So, and then the last thing to put to this is that I always thought was interesting that I feel like Gloomhaven was designed to be a board game that was meant to play like a D&D video game in board game form. And now the board game is a video game. So that's pretty funny. So the idea behind this game on the campaigns, when you start off, you start with like 6 different character classes that you can choose from, right? Now, when you pick these characters, they join your guild, you give them a name, they get a starting deck of cards, and I'll explain what the cards are shortly. And they have like their own style of play. So if you choose who you want to use. And after you select the character, you also get something interesting I didn't expect in this game. You get a personal goal for a character. When you get the character, you're handed, or they give you like 2 cards that has like a goal for this person. Basically, it's their entire reason for joining the guild as far as a narrative is concerned. And once you fulfill that goal by playing through scenarios, they leave and they don't come back for the most part. Like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But they go away, and you can pretty much, depending on which character you use, they can unlock a new character that will come and be recruitable to join the guild. So on one hand, it's awesome that it gives you access to unlock new characters to play with, but it's also sad because if you're the type of person who gets attached to your character, you're not going to want to see them go. But you really can't avoid it because that's just how the game is designed to be played. Now, once you've chosen your characters, you can start on a scenario. And what a scenario is essentially like a narrative arc where something will occur, like, bandits have raided a local store, and the proprietor of the store wants you to go out to their hideout and get their treasure back. Can you do the deed? And of course, you're going to say, yeah, because that's the damn scenario. You will choose a roster of party members that you can take with you from that guild. It's interesting in that you can choose between 2 to 4 different characters to go with you. And the game will scale the enemy layout and stuff based on how many party members go with you. Pretty much like how the board game would have done it. But it's funny to see it act like this in an actual game proper. And I was actually interested in seeing how that would work. So it's choose the characters and you go out on your mission and boom, now you're in. Once you're on an actual battle, you're on a hexagonal board. You can move characters. Actually, I shouldn't say you should move characters because I got to talk about the cards now. This is to me the bread and butter of what makes Gloomhaven pretty awesome to me, aside from the unlocking new characters. Characters don't typically play like you're used to playing in these kinds of games, and the card mechanic is a large part of why that is. So, at the start of a level, you can, out of your character's total set of ability cards, you can choose 8 to go onto their hand. Once you've chosen 8, that's what they take into the scenario battle with them. And on every turn, you have access to all 8 cards to start. You have to choose 2 of the cards. Now, each card has a top action and a bottom action, and a number associated with it. The number determines initiative. So the lower number of all the actions across all the characters participating goes first, and then it escalates upward. After that, once you've chosen your 2 cards, you have to choose an action from each of the cards. And you have to choose it in the sense where you can either, if you choose the top action of one card, you have to choose the bottom action of the other, and vice versa. So it creates a pretty interesting set of choices you'll have to make in regards to, like, do you need the initiative? Is the initiative worth using the card that you might not have wanted to use otherwise? And then even after you've done that, what's the smartest order of actions to play to get the most out of the combination you picked? But once you've used the 2 cards, they go into your discard pile, essentially. Now, you only have 8 cards, so how do you get them back? At any point during a turn, you are able to do a rest action. And there are 2 types of rest actions. One is a short rest. This is typical for like a lot of deck-style games, where when you rest, you get all your discarded cards back. But in Gloomhaven, what they do to put a fire under your ass is if you basically have to lose a card for good for that scenario every time you rest. Short rest, you are able to immediately take another turn, but the game at random chooses a card to burn out, which means you can't use it again for the rest of the scenario. So you basically are like, okay, crap, I don't know if I need to go quickly enough that I don't care. If you don't like what they take, you can take damage to get a new card. Now, you can do long rest instead, which will kill your turn, and you still have to discard a card, but you get healed 2 hit points, and you can choose the card personally that you got to discard. So it's the more tactical method to resting. Now, you're like, the fuck are you talking about, Pernell? So after you've done that, that's essentially like how the setup works. But if you run out of cards, if you burn through all of your cards, that's it. You get exhausted. It's basically the equivalent of like your party member being too tired to continue and you lose. So the time aspect is you playing around and playing through a battle without exhausting your entire hand of cards. And some cards are so powerful that they burn up immediately when you use them. Like, it's not even a matter of getting it reshuffled. It's just gone. So got to choose that too. And there's other aspects of these things too, but as far as like battle goes, as far like tactical aspects of it, which I don't want to go into because we don't do reviews that take 30 freaking minutes, though I do, but you hate that. So
tactical resting.
But one other aspect of battle that I really like, aside from the fact that all the characters are just really diverse and different in how they operate, is the fact that every character in battle also has equivalent of like a personal goal. So in addition to the actual scenario mission, might be kill all enemies or get to a certain point or whatever, each individual character has their own mission. Like one character might be disarm a trap or loot, like get like loot 5 chests or 5 like treasure piles. And if they complete the mission, they get additional experience points beyond the base experience they'll get from beating the level or the scenario. And of course, leveling up your character will unlock new ability cards, which will make choosing which cards to take into a level that much more difficult, but that's okay because when they retire, you'll lose them all anyway. So, woof, woof. Once you're done a level, you can go back to Gloomhaven or proceed with the scenario if it's still continuing. At Gloomhaven itself, you can spend hard-earned gold to purchase items and equipment. Unlike a lot of games like this, though, the equipment isn't like a sword that you can equip which will boost your attack by X. Instead, they are one-time or multi-use things where once you use it, it performs an action or a benefit for you. Like it might be a pair of boots that when you equip the boots, you get +2 movement when you take a move action. It's not agility boosting. It's just literally you can move a little bit further.
Moving.
Or a dagger that lets you poison enemies when you do a melee attack. That sort of thing. And it's kind of cool because you can actually kind of buy the items and switch them around, but since the individual characters have their own gold pools, if you're playing as individuals, as in like other people controlling the other characters, you can be like, no, I'm not buying anything for you. This is for me. But if you're controlling all of them, then you're probably going to be like, okay, well, this guy's buying it, but he can pass it off or whatever. But I do like that aspect. And there's also like road events and stuff where between levels, either at the town, you can do like a city event, or between going from town to a location, there's like road events that are just like, the equivalent of like reading off a description, like, hey, you find an old man on the side of the road. He hurt his leg. Do you want to steal his treasure, or do you want to help him get to town, or something like that? And you don't know whether you're going to get rewarded for it, or if it's going to be a negative detriment, but you're like, well, make a choice and live with the outcome. So I've been rambling like a mofo for this game, probably for 10 minutes now. And I didn't even, and that's why I'm actually kind of glad. I was like, I only got to really do the campaign because that's plenty to freaking talk about right there.
I mean, it sounds like a deep involved game, so.
It really is. And one thing I should probably point out here that I think is very important is, me, when I got into the idea of playing board games, I started doing so because I like the idea of being able to play games with friends in a way that doesn't always have me staring at a screen. However, I also feel like there's certain board games that really do well by making the digital transition. I think Gloomhaven is definitely one of them because Gloomhaven playing it on the table involves a lot of fiddly bits, setting up things, tracking numbers, tracking your character sheets and all these things. And much of what makes the game heavy, and as far as like game heaviness goes, is keeping track of all of the mechanics as you're making moves on boards and manipulating enemies and all that stuff. But in a video game, the game handles that. You can focus on your character builds. You can focus on your cards. You can focus on your favorite classes and all the stuff that you actually want to play the game for. You don't have to deal with all the piece management and the cleanup and the setup. All that's done. It's all about the game here. And I think this is something where if you were to say, Pernell, would you prefer to play this on the board game now? Or would you want to just stick with the digital? I'd stick with digital for Gloomhaven. I'd be happy to stick with the digital version of Gloomhaven. Not to say that if someone set the game up for me, I'm not going to play. I want to freaking play. But if I'm doing it, it's digital for Gloomhaven for me. And I'm good for that. This game is worth its weight in gold. And I barely freaking touched it. I think it's a fantastic build. I think it does well. The narrator is actually pretty charming as far as like him talking about events and stuff like that. It's a good game. And I think it even goes well beyond a lot of the other digital adaptations I've played over the years. This is the cream.
Nice. So $34.99 on this one. It was in early access for $24.99, but unfortunately the price has to go up with full release. So for $35, what are your thoughts on this one?
It is still worth every penny. It's a no-brainer. Again, people were spending $200 on the digital and happy with it. This is a steal for the content. Yeah. It's a good game and worth it.
Cool. I'm so happy my voice is going. It's from throwing up because of the whole kidney stones thing.
Kidney stones make you puke?
No, you can't really keep food down if you're getting affected by the stomach pain. Yeah.
Oh, touche.
That happens.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you'll make some steps going forward. No more kidney stones. I had a friend who had them, but under the same breath, he will tell you, I don't like the taste of water. Like, and you wonder why you got kidney stones. You don't drink water. It's like,
I will admit, I'm surprised it took this long.
Yeah, and it sucks. Like, I'll tell you, I'll be blunt with you. You want to know what scared me from never wanting kidney stones? The episode of Seinfeld where Kramer had them. It was the first exposure I had to what a kidney stone was, and the way he portrayed it on that episode, I was like, I never want to deal with whatever the hell he just did. Because, it's a TV show. They don't explain, they pissing him out of his urethra or whatever. It's just, he's got kidney stones and they hurt. And I was like, I don't want whatever that is. That looks like hell. Yeah. And guess what? He's fucking getting them. Never.
Well, I've yet to pass one. So, but speaking of passing, the next game to talk about is Circuit Superstars. Code provided by Square Enix for the purpose of this review. Developed by Original Fire Games. Published by Square Enix. Released October 12th on Xbox One and Steam for $19.99. Circuit Superstars is a top-down racer built by racing fans for racing fans. Celebrating generations of racing, focusing on driving that feels great, but with a high skill ceiling that will have players spending hours honing their perfect lap. This game is not lying when it says it will have players spending hours honing their laps. This game is all about precision. This is a top-down racer. It's, similar to like the RC Pro-Am games of old where, you're always using left and right to turn left and right, no matter what orientation your car is. Like if you're coming towards you, you got to remember that right is left, left is right. One of those kind of style games of driving. There's a Grand Prix in the game. It has 12 different, courses that you could, not courses, 12 different championships that you could go through. Each one has their own set of special courses. I believe there's 12 or 13 actual courses as well that have various, layouts depending on the race that you're going through. So the track variation is definitely there. It keeps you coming back. A lot of various tracks that you could go Jesus, my voice.
Hang in there. Drink some water.
I'm trying. Here's some more.
Glug, glug.
I need my Mountain Dew.
Never. That's what got you into this mess. It's delicious, though, but yes.
The big thing with this game is its emphasis on skill. Like, this is a game that even on the amateur difficulty, like, the AI doesn't screw up. The AI, well, they might bump a corner or something, but for the most part, the AI races near perfectly, and that's a bummer. Like, if I'm playing on I'm playing what I'm playing on amateurs, what I would expect to be playing on, like, the mid difficulty. I'm scared to see what the high difficulties in this game are like, because, like, I raced online and I was getting lapped.
Oof.
Yeah.
By other human players?
Other human players, yeah. I did it.
Jeez.
Granted, that's probably on my fault for jumping in online before I've been familiar with all of the courses, which this game is basically, it requires you to be ungodly intimate with all of the corners of these courses. It is all about having what?
I was going to ask, like, based on, like, just your play of the game, and I'm not sure about the 100% on the style, so that's why I'm asking. Is this one of those racing games where they might have, like, secret shortcuts or whatever, if you're familiar with the track, or is it everyone's racing the same track every time?
Everyone's racing the same track every time.
Okay.
Yeah. I haven't seen any secret. It's not like a kart racer. It's more like the RC racer. I haven't seen any shortcuts that you could take. Yeah, Lady McGree, get intimate with those curves.
SML After Dark.
Oh, we'll get there with Chris when he's on. Oh, God, where was I?
Intimate curves.
Yeah, the curves. God, you need to just practice. This game is all about practice. You need to practice these courses. The first time you play it, you're going to expect to just go in, guns blazing, hold the accelerator down, go flying into curves, and think everything's going to be great. The first time that you ride a wall for too long and you get a penalty for it, like if you're going around a corner and you just ride the guardrail around the corner, you'll get a speed penalty and it'll slow you down for like 2 seconds.
That kills me when those games do that. That's how, like, the MotoGP games were doing it to me too.
If you take a corner too sharp and you hit the little pylon, there's a 1.5 second penalty of not that you stop, but it, like, slows you down. So it's not like it doesn't completely take you out of the race, but it does make it significantly harder to get back into it, especially given how friggin' impossible the AI feels to beat. I spent, I think, about 5 hours playing this game so far. I have 2 first place wins, and that's it.
And the funny part is, like, there's a part of me that's like, after playing all those brutal racing games that I've been playing, I'm like, that's pretty good. That's what I'm saying. This is like Mario Kart.
Retired USAF gamer coming in, dropping 13 biddies. Thank you so much. And they are gravestones too, so they're filling up the cup. Thank you so much. Always good seeing new people drop by. I don't remember you coming by, but the name seems familiar. So I don't know if I've seen you in other channels or if you're a repeat and my memory is just that bad. It's very possible my memory.
Blame it on the stone. Blame it on the stone.
It's the kidneys. Oh, my kidneys, son of a bitch. Oh, I need water.
That's how you do it.
Code provided by Square Enix for the purpose of this review. Kidney stone provided by Square Enix for the kidney stone provided by Mountain Dew for the purpose of it. Oh my god. The online in the game is great. It has cross-play, so you are Xbox and Steam playing together. Steam players are going to beat the shit out of you. The few games I played, first 4 places were always Steam and last 1 or 2 were always Xbox. So prepare to lose. I don't know if it's easier to play on Steam because I haven't played with the keyboard. It's possible it controls better mouse and keyboard, but with me playing on my Elite controller, it comes down to memorization of the courses. I've said it a few times, but that's really what this game comes down to, is memorization of the courses and learning the best route. And the only way you can do that is by just repetition, playing the courses over and over. You're not going to come into this game. You're not going to start the Grand Prix, blaze through it, and win all the trophies on all the difficulties. You're going to have to sit and you're going to have to learn this game if you want to get the most out of it.
Golden Boy would beg to differ. Said Golden Boy would beg to differ.
Shut up. In addition to Grand Prix and online, they have weekly time trials and then a Top Gear time attack. Yes, the game is affiliated with Top Gear, so that's cool. Has that commercial tie-in. I suck at the time trials because I'm bad at the game.
Yeah, you're not getting first place. You're not going to be getting time trial rocks either. You got to get the wins first.
No, I was pretty excited. I did the one course and I finished in the top 1,400.
Well, I guess at the same time, I guess there's something to be said about like time trials and that if you want to get familiar with the track without having other cars giving you grief on the track.
No.
On the track. That's not a bad way to go about doing it. So
the thing that makes me happy is that I was out of 1,400 for a game that just came out, which means there's an audience with this game, which means that there's a player base, which means the online should be fairly populated.
Hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah,
don't get drummed out by Fortnite season 90-100.
Oh, geez. $20 on this one. I think it might be a little on the steeper side, especially given the high skill ceiling required for this. I could see a lot of people getting scared off right away. This is a game where you're going to have to manage the accelerator and the brake and actually like take your time going around corners and drifts and learning those curves. If it was 15, I'd give it a buy it. At 20, I'd give it a try it. I'm going to keep playing this one. I want to get better at this game. I love these kind of top-down racers. The controls in this game are solid. It's just you have to learn them. And if you don't have the patience for the game, pass on it. But everyone else, there's a good time waiting for you.
Get up on this.
Yeah, buddy. All right, one more game to talk about with you. That is The Last Friend, developed by the Stonebot Studio and Ludus Games, published by Skystone Games, released September 30th on PC for $14.99. Doggone tired of the typical brawler or tower defense that is all bark and no bite? Then join Alpha and T1 on a dynamic adventure that has you battling hordes of baddies and bosses on their mission to save all the doggos. Pernell, tell us about The Last Friend.
So, surprisingly, I actually haven't played a game like this in a long time. Not since Plants vs. Zombies was still a popular game, which was a long time ago. So, when I heard about this game and I saw that it had a gameplay style similar to that, but it also involved dogs, well, yeah, obvious, no brainer. So I got on this bad boy, and I was honestly pleasantly surprised by it. Like, it's one of those game reviews where it's like you started up being like, okay, I got like an hour before bed. I'll give this a go and then resume it tomorrow. And then that hour before bed became 3 hours before bed because I wanted to keep playing it. The idea behind this game is you are basically in a post-apocalyptic wasteland driving an RV along with the dog T1, as you mentioned, Alpha and T1, together forever. And funny enough about this game, T1, the dog, is the one who talks, and Alpha just grunts half the time, which I thought was pretty funny. But as you progress into the game, you come to realize that there are like basically like marauders, like road warriors in the sense that are kidnapping dogs for nefarious purposes. And Alpha is a dog lover. That's the impression I got because he's collecting a lot of dogs. Decides to go out of his way to rescue these dogs in the course of the mission. So what ends up happening, you go to a stage, an event occurs, and then you're proceeded to actually play the level. Levels take place in a series of waves, and in each wave you have to spend scrap to build turrets that perform various functions. The turrets are manned by dogs. This is like the one thing where I kind of got pulled out of it a little bit, but it didn't kill the game in any way. In that you rescue, like say for example, T1 is a dog, right? He's one dog. But when you place the turret associated with T1, the turret gets dropped and T1's piloting it. But if you drop 3 of them, there's 3 T1s. So it's like weird, but whatever. Once you get past that point, which will be quick, then you're just like, haha, still fun game. But you basically drop the turrets down. They're all associated with the different dogs. So like you'll have one dog that allows you to burrow for additional scrap over a period of time. There's another dog who can like be a shield to protect you from, like, protect the RV from incoming damage. And there could be like one that's like various ones for turrets and so on and so forth. And you spend scrap to put them down across a series of 3 lanes. On the right side, enemies will approach from. The left side is where your RV is. If the enemies reach the RV, they'll do damage to it and eventually destroy it, which would be how you lose the stage. So you'll set these things up, the wave will begin, and enemies will approach. In addition to your actual turrets doing their due, Alpha can actually get down and dirty in this game too. He can actually run out into the fray, and he can do like a series of attacks, like normal melee attacks. He can grab enemies and throw them between lanes, which is really cool for like crowd control and such. Or if you can't beat a guy, but you also want to pull him back from attacking a turret station or whatever, you just grab and throw him. He also eventually unlocks a series of like special moves, such as like uppercuts and like dash grabs and stuff like that, which use like special meter. But you can earn more of the special meter by just doing more combos and beating the tar out of enemies. It's a very addictive flow, to be honest with you. In between waves, you can actually do more with actually even during the waves for that matter. You can place new turrets. You can upgrade existing turrets under certain conditions, which I'll talk about in a second. And you can just prepare for additional waves. Sometimes big boys will come out and like do some big special damage. Like they're super bosses and things of that nature. And when they come out, all bets are off. You got to take them out because they will destroy your stuff like in a way that you do not want. So that's pretty much what makes them big boss enemies. But for the most part, that ends up being the stage flow. When you beat a level, you are given rewards based off of, or not rewards, the usual 3-star system, based off of fulfilling certain conditions, like not letting the RV take a certain amount of damage, or maybe Alpha not taking a certain amount of damage, or things of that nature. Honestly, for the most part, I was hitting those 3 stars because if I don't, I'm going back because you know me. I ain't screwing around. I need my points. So after you do a level, you unlock access to new stages. So you'll be going from level to level. Every once in a while, you'll come across he goes by Lone Wolf. And if you see him, he has like special missions that you can fulfill, where if you complete them, you will gain access to like upgrades for Alpha, such as like more hit points or things of that nature. So it's better if you see his missions, it's always worth knocking them out because you want to upgrade Alpha, and that is literally the only way to do is by beating his challenges. There's also an old lady you come across every once in a while who can make food for your dogs using dog treats, which are earned in skirmishes. Enemies sometimes will drop them, and sometimes you'll get them as mission rewards. You can spend the dog treats to feed the dogs, which will allow you to purchase their upgradable forms. So, for example, T1 is initially just like a turret that fires a single bullet at a time. But if you get him to his 3rd tier level, he fires 3 bullets across all 3 lanes, which is freaking cool. But unlike something I didn't realize initially, the upgrade isn't just purchased and that's it. What actually happens is once you unlock the level up for the dog, That just means that now in battles, you can spend additional scrap to upgrade the turret to a better level, which makes it more capable and more functional, which of course you'll have to do eventually because those base level guns don't amount to crap. There are also dogs that do other side benefits, such as allow you to like heal additional turrets or give you attack boosts under certain conditions, things of that nature. And you can equip a certain number of dogs per stage. So you can kind of mix and match your dog loadout and just kind of have a good time customizing your dogs to have the best possible chance of beating a stage. Also, you can pet dogs outside of levels. There's like you can go to the camper and just like kind of like catch up on with T1 or like general dialogue and stuff like that. But you can also upgrade the RV using stars that you earn from beating the levels with 3-star ratings to like increase the scrap capacity or offensive capacity of your turrets, the defense capacity of the RV, and so on and so forth. It's honestly a pretty fun upgrade system, and I always felt like I was getting something new. Or if I didn't quite have what I needed to get something new, I was like, okay, one more level. Gotta get those stars to upgrade my RV, or if I can just get one more dog biscuit, I could upgrade Sergeant Scraps. I said Sergeant Scraps because what it is, like they're named after their breed, but you can choose the name for the dog. So, of course, one of mine was named Sergeant Scraps. This is just a really nice game. Like, it felt good to play. It's very lighthearted. It felt surprisingly good to unlock new dogs because they have cool, cute portraits and it tells you the function of the dogs. And you might find yourself using a dog solely because you prefer the breed, even if the actual dog's ability isn't useful to you in a given scenario. You don't care. You want the dog, damn it. But I had a great time playing this game. I'm going to have more great times playing it because somehow, some way, I'm going to fit it into my damn schedule because I like playing it. It is a good game. I don't know if they had console releases or not, but if it gets them, that would be a great place to play it too.
No, but so far it's only PC, so.
Even on PC, though, I mean, I connected my Xbox 360 controller. Yeah, I'm still using one of those. I connected my 360 controller, it immediately recognized it, and bam, controller layout. So
it's time to update to an Xbox One controller for your computer.
Does it make a difference, though?
I think a lot of games are going to stop supporting 360 controllers due to their age.
But then in that case, you have to use like a Bluetooth version, right? Because right now, mine is still wired and everything.
Yeah, why? You could just plug it in.
Let's see if I get down with that.
Yeah, Xbox One controllers, you could just plug in USB.
Oh, yeah. As I'm looking at my Xbox One controller, there's a USB port on top. God damn it. So there it is, man. I should just start doing that. But you know how it is. I already have it. It still works. I just keep using it until it breaks. But as far as the last friend goes, if I actually did lose my Xbox 360 controller and I had to spend money to get a better controller just to play this game, I would probably do it because it is a lot of fun to play. I do feel as though this would be an appealing game for casual game players. It's an appealing game for folks who like playing games that just involve friggin' dogs. And honestly, I feel like, unless I'm missing something, this is actually a genre that doesn't get much play these days. So it's like a revisit to an old friend.
Cool. So $15, your official verdict?
Easy buy it recommendation.
Sweet.
It's more like, fuck it, why don't you?
Fuck it, you better.
You better.
Cut you. I will cut you if you don't buy this game.
I'll give you kidney stone. Buy this shit.
Skystone will put that on the box. I'll cut you if you don't buy this game. The SML podcast.
Worth it.
Worth it. All right. Well, that is it for you, Pernell. Gonna let you get going. I got a couple of more games to do with Chris after a quick little commercial break, which is code for me editing and cutting and recording on a different day. Do you have any final words before we move on?
Square Enix, give us Voice of Cards, damn it. Give us your quirky shit. We want the quirky RPGs you've been putting out, and Voice of Cards is it. If you hear this, give us that game. We want to review it. Also bananas.
Your lips go through all kinds of abuse. Chapped, bitten, split, puckered, duck-shaped for my space. So we combined the two best things in life into a portable plastic cylinder. Smooth lips and almost fully cooked pancakes. Introducing Wet Pancakes Beeswax Lip Balm. With only the best coconut, sweet almond, avocado, and saccharin oils, beeswax, and flavor. With a U. What flavor is it? We're not sure. Might be pancake. You don't know. So pick up a couple of sticks for yourself and your friends. And that creepy guy standing behind you looking over your shoulder. Some assembly required. Not FDIC insured. Does not contain actual pancakes or Norix. Restrictions may apply. Go for the gold. Pizza. Your mom may or may not be sponsored by the SML podcast. Joe Cam loves you. Peace out.
All right, and finally, we're going to wrap up the show with Chris Taylor. Chris, how are you doing?
Yo, I'm doing good.
Been a hot minute since it's just been us.
I know, we're out in outer space like this or something. Away from the party.
Yeah, it was a small party. It was just me, Tim, and Pernell, and we only had a few games to run through, so...
Okay, I guess I
even did one.
Nice. I guess I'm going to have to listen to this episode on YouTube to...
Yeah, you will. Actually, the real reason to listen is the first hour and a half of the show, which is Glenn Case doing 90 minutes of Jackbox top 33 list.
Oh, wow. Cool. I just bought Jackbox Pack 4 for a office party.
Ah, well, you can listen to the episode and find out if that was a worthwhile purchase.
Oh, boy. I can't wait to find out if I should regret my... I mean, it was on sale, so it would only be half regret because it was about half off.
The bottom line is they're all good.
Yeah. Great for parties.
So anyway, how are you doing?
I'm good. I wasn't able to be at the PartyCast because the Four-Eyed Horsemen of the Apocalypse are coming through town. Which is
Four-Eyed Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
Yeah, that's not too. It's not as dangerous as it sounds. It's a nerdcore tour with Mega Ran, MC Lars, MC Frontalot, and Schaefer the Dark Lord.
Ah.
So it was a big old nerdcore night here in Austin, and it was a lot of fun. So, and they also had Bitforce with them, which is a local San Antonio-based VGM rock band. So good times all around. But yeah, I was out very late, almost past midnight.
Gasp. And egads.
I know. I mean, if it was me in Austin 10 years ago, the show would have started at midnight. So that's, but you know, time makes fools of us all.
Yeah, we're old.
Whoever Saul is.
Anyway, you got some games to talk about. Should we get into these?
Yeah, let's talk about them.
All right, 4 more games to talk about tonight. First one is Nira, developed by Baseline Games, published by Graffiti Games, released October 14th on the Switch for $9.99. Explore procedurally generated islands in this fast-paced sandbox survival adventure filled with building, crafting, fighting, farming, and quests. Chris, tell us about Nira.
All right, Nira. Nira, Faro, wherever you are. That's it. That pun is definitely worth $10. Okay, anyway. So yes, Nira is as it says, a sandbox survival game, which might remind one of a Minecraft or something like that, and that's kind of what it is. However, the presentation is all completely different. This is a minimal pixel style top-down kind of game, so it kind of emulates something like Minecraft's like minimalist voxel visuals, but it goes all the way back to something that's like Atari or sorry, hang on. My cat decided he wanted to be part of the podcast, and I had to shuffle him away. But yeah, it's your character looks like an Atari 2600 character. It's a game made out of angry Legos. So, but the background and especially the animations look a lot nicer than the still shots look. So it's like it's just like 8-bit, 4.5-bit like flavored.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it is. Actually moves really smooth though. So it's that's the one thing I like about these kind of minimal games, and that'll actually come up in a later review. Anyways, so you are dropped on this island. You are Nira. You have no gender. You have no clothes. You are white, but I mean literally white, like a sheet of paper. And you wake up on an island with Totem, which is an odd stick with some rings around it. It's not like an actual, like a stereotypical like totem pole like you would think, but Totem stands on an island and is your kind of like your only friend, kind of. So basically you're given a tutorial or the option for a tutorial, and you walk around this island. Basically you use the left and right like shoulder buttons to switch between tools. You start with a hammer and an axe and some other things, some knickknacks and paddywhacks. And you go around chopping trees and catching bees, whatever you can do to get materials. With those materials, you will then access the somewhat intimidating inventory list. And again, if you're into like crafting type games, like this will look pretty familiar to you. So you can take, like, let's say 3 sticks and make a plank. You can take those planks and with some stone and make another axe or make another type of thing. What you're building towards is crafting shelter and the ability to get food for yourself, because it's the zombie apocalypse. And so periodically, your little island that you're on will be ravaged by the undead. And I do mean ravaged. Like, you got zombies that come in, like slow shuffly zombies. You got like real fast zombies that really irritatingly attack you as soon as they appear on the screen. And so if you've got like a melee weapon, then good luck. You've got sharks in the water. Sometimes you'll get attacked by a gosh darn cyclops. I don't know where that factors into a zombie apocalypse, but that happens too. Basically, it's fast paced because you got to learn how to protect yourself and fast. So you start off making these rudimentary tools, but what you're building up to is the ability to craft a gosh darn shotgun so that you can like get rid of some of these undeads. This isn't just a peaceful survival that you're going through here. It's basically war. But the cool thing is that you can right away, if you can craft, if you grab enough sticks to make enough planks to make a boat, then you can get in the water and not get eaten by sharks and sail away to all kinds of different islands where you can kind of basically repeat the process. But wherever Totem is, that's your home base, because when you craft stuff, when you defeat enemies, for lots of different reasons, you will gain experience points. But here's the thing. You don't just simply level up. One does not simply level up by gaining experience points, says Boromir. You have to go back and talk to Totem and deposit your experience points in order to get a level pool going. Oh. So you might have like 100 experience points and you've got, 372 to get from level 1 to level 2. So you can deposit those 100 experience points and save them up. The reason you want to do that is because, with the exception of the first time you die, every time you die, you lose half of your experience points and your entire inventory.
Oh.
Yes. So, it's roguelite in that sense, because although anything that you've built or put on the ground or whatever, like if you've built your boat, then great, those will survive. But whatever was on your person in that backpack, that is forfeit. I don't know if it can be reclaimed, honestly. I've watched some gameplay where somebody remarked that you might be able to regain some of your items by finding your backpack or something, but I didn't see that in my experience. So someone smarter will have to confirm or deny that.
Were you not able to get back to where your body was, or?
It was eaten by sharks, so there definitely was no backpack there. So I guess it depends on how you die, maybe. But anyways, it's one of those things where it's like, it's still kind of cool because, like I said, it's basically, you're not like trying to thrive and build a metropolis. You're just trying to get enough levels. So the point of levels is so that you can then unlock new skills. See, the skills can't surpass your level is the thing. So that's kind of how the leveling up goes. And when you level up, you can make more sophisticated stuff and quickly. So you can, once you get kind of in the swing of it, the materials you have on hand don't matter as much as, well, some of them do. Like iron, for instance, is kind of hard to get. But with that iron, once you're able to move around and, build up the skills, you can quickly like craft yourself like a shotgun, some armor, some other survival things so that you can work on like your home base. So in that sense, the game does require some patience, but it actually pays off pretty well to like kind of play the slow game and just be used to jumping in your boat and sailing away to another island as soon as the zombies show up. they'll chase you, but they're slow. I mean, even the ones that are fast are still slow when it comes to the water. Weirdly, all the water seems to be 3 feet deep, but that's enough to house a great white shark. So, it's a real interesting game. It definitely, it has that survival kick to it, but it's a little more accessible. Just it's a little hard to grasp at first because the tutorials don't tell you a whole lot about it. But everything I mentioned is more or less covered. So the finer points are just going to have to be like one of those things you'll discover for yourself, and it's rewarding to do so. Oh, and there's a little bit more of a bonus. For one, totem on top of saving your game. Oh, that's the other thing. You can totally save scum in this game. So if you do get your all your material built up and stuff and make a save, you can, if you die, you can load that save and you might lose some progress, but at least you'll still have your stuff. So there's one way around it. The other thing is that totem on top of leveling up your character, totem will give you quests and will be like, I want 3 coconuts, and you bring them 3 coconuts, and then you get a big bonus of experience points and things like that. So you got little other things that you can do, and there are also occasionally, and this kind of messed me up at first because it happened my very first time playing, and it wasn't, it's procedurally generated, so I don't think it was actually supposed to happen. Sometimes you'll get portals that open up into other dungeon crawls where you can, I suppose, get a lot of experience and all this other stuff. It's like basically you do this little dungeon crawl where they hand you all the guns. You get this nice little stack of guns, and you are supposed to defeat waves of enemies and kind of explore, and that gives you some bonus stuff too. So there's a little bit of more stuff to do besides just rowing around islands and avoiding zombies. So it's pretty good.
It sounds like a neat one. $10. What do you think?
I think this is worth $10 for sure because there's a lot going on here. It definitely belies the simplistic look of it and the kind of simple. It's a survival game on an island. It's got some depth to it, and I appreciate that. And it doesn't get too far into the weeds either. So I mean, metaphorically speaking, literally speaking, yes, you can get into some weeds. But yeah, I'm gonna give it a buy it.
Cool. Next up is Farming Life, developed by Pyramid Games, published by Gaming Factory and Ultimate Games. Released October 18th on Steam for $9.99. Are you tired of corporate life? Create your own farm. Plant vegetables and fruits, harvest crops, employ workers, take care of animals, buy farm equipment, manage employees, and just relax. Chris, how's Farming Life?
How is Farming Life indeed? Well, I'll tell you one thing. It's no farmer's life. That constantly messed up my my Googling when I was researching this one a little bit more. Farmer's Life is an entirely different game that's a realistic farming sim and has nothing to do with this. So Farming Life, if you're looking this one up, because look for the bright, colorful voxel graphics. So that's just kind of a consequence of naming these things so similar to each other. But fortunately, it actually is Farming Life. So this is a farming sim. Now, there's basically 2 flavors of farming sim out there in general in gaming, and that's your really realistic stuff, your John Deere's farming, whatever, where you actually get in there and really, get into
the shit Cole used to play.
Yeah. And then there's the stuff I'm more used to, which is your Harvest Moons and Stardew Valleys and stuff where it's farming's in there, but it's more about running around and gathering stuff and making friends and relationships and all this other stuff. So this is an unusual one because it really it walks the line right between those 2 things. So it's a little hardcore in the sense that, it is all about building up your farm and, planting the right crops and, assigning workers to doing different things and, micromanaging. And as far as relaxing, it can be relaxing, but it's not an auto farmer or anything. So it's you do actually have to keep your hands on this one in order to not mess it all up. But, it is it's a very laid back and casual kind of game in that sense too, because it's you're not really burdened by an overarching time limit, and you're not you're not going to wreck everything by, not doing everything exactly right. So that's kind of cool. It's basically it's a voxel style game, so a little more minimal on graphics. They chose a very bright and colorful presentation, and I mean bright. It really pops like with the colors. It's very pleasant to look at and sounds good too. It's got a good soundtrack. You start off with 2 farmers, and it's not an inexplicable 12-year-old who's inherited his uncle's farm. It's more like you are the uncle, and because you start off with an older couple, and I don't know what they mean about corporate life. I'm just going to leave that alone. Basically, you start in, and a happy scarecrow who dances around gives you a tutorial on how to do everything that you will want to do in the game, which is basically. If you've played SimCity 2000, this will seem familiar. You basically drag and drop different things in different places. If you want to create a plot of, if you want to till some soil for some of that good old planting of produce, then you just drag across the land and choose, highlight a patch of land, and then they start getting to work. You assign somebody to it. You start off with 2 people, but you can hire more people. And the hiring is very simple. You just click on hire a person. It's like, hey, here's a person. You're like, okay, hire that one. And, it's pretty darn easy. And you can fire him too, which is great. I haven't had to, but it's nice to know that's there. So yeah, you drag and drop and just choose your plot of land and have a person work on it, and that person will work on it. And then, you got to get somebody to drive the truck to, get those, you got to build a silo, keep the vegetables in it, then get the truck so you can get the vegetables from the silo into the truck, get the truck into town, sell your stuff. You got more money. Now you can get more land and, expand as you desire. Because again, there's no overarching imperative to make the largest farm. It's just, when you feel comfortable doing more stuff, then you've got more stuff to do. And the other cool thing about it is that you're not forced to kind of multitask in terms of you've got a few different things you can do. You can plant vegetables. That's what they're called. You can also raise livestock, but if you just want to do one more than the other, then you're certainly free to do that. You can just focus on livestock, and you can plant some vegetables for food for the animals, but apart from that, just focus on the animals. You can also raise pets, which is nice, and there actually is a pet petting woven in, so you do have to pet your dogs and cats so that they will chase away the rats and things like that.
Yeah, you gotta pet the pets.
You gotta do it, and you can't just hire somebody to do it either, which is funny. You actually have to just have one of your people that's around doing it. But anyways, I wanted to actually wanted to hire a dog petter, but just to see if I could. But yeah, it basically, it has you do all this stuff and, work all day on kind of getting your product, whatever it is, if it's produce or if it's animals or whatever, over to town to sell it. And, then at the end of the day, they're like, well, let's compare your stats to everybody else and, whatever. And you gain reputation as well, which allows you to purchase different things like different kinds of seeds and stuff like that. So there is growth here. Reputation, you just kind of get that from doing whatever successfully, and that kind of levels up your character in a sense. And you just get more stuff available. Kind of fortunately for me, because I'm not really interested in this part of most farming games. There's no dating or anything like that. You don't have to find a wife. Your old guy seems like he's doing pretty well. So it really is just kind of building your farm and taking care of it and kind of, working on it. And in that sense, I like the low pressure approach to it.
Yeah, if you're interested in hearing more about a farming game where you can date the people, tune in next episode where we'll be talking about Story of Seasons.
Oh yeah, that game I already bought. So you won't be hearing about
Xbox now.
Sweet. Is it Mineral Town or Olive Town?
Mineral, I think.
Cool. Yeah, we have that one. I haven't played it yet, of course.
Hey, anyway. Finally hit Xbox. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Maybe Farming Life will hit Xbox one day.
That would be nice because, yeah, this game is it's got a lot going for it. Honestly, I was impressed by how much you could do for how like inexpensive the game is, but we'll get to that. That's the summary. I guess the final thing is really just talking about the UI. It's got a really nice UI that reminds me a lot of the original SimCity. It's like there's just these 6 buttons on the corner that kind of take care of everything, building stuff and, planning stuff, going to town and building roads. And then, you've just got your 6 things over the top and then about 4 more buttons, and that's pretty much it. So
they went with the KISS method?
Yeah, exactly.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Exactly, yeah. And you get notifications when people need help and stuff, and you also get letters in periodically where it'll be like, they're like side quests, basically, and those are timed, but, you don't really, you might lose reputation if you lose them or something, but they're pretty, at least in the early game, they're easy. It's just like, enter a carrot rate, competition. Bring 20 carrots and things like that, And yeah, it's nice because it's low pressure, but it's also nice because it's still got a lot going for it, and it really does feel like work to do everything in the game. So,
well, it's only $10. So, what do you think of it?
Yeah, totally go for it. This is a great one for people looking to get into farming sims, but they don't, they may not be interested in something like, a Harvest Moon or a like Stardew Valley, but they, something that's more akin to farming than like fantasy farming, as it were, but not quite at the level of, John Deere's, every single thing is like pixel perfect accurate, and you're gonna really have it's not having a bad time. There's nothing worse than actually farming. So all of these are more fun than the actual work involved in tilling the soil. So yeah. This one is a buy it.
The farmers are going to be so pissed off at you when they hear this episode.
No, they are going to hear the truth, and they will be fine with it.
Farming is my life, you son of a bitch.
But is it fun as video games?
It's my life and my passion.
Okay, but is it video games?
It's my life and it's my passion. It's what I do.
This is why I moved away from the country, so yeah.
City boy.
And how?
All right, next game to talk about is Dark Grim Mariupolis, developed by Team Mariupolis, published by Zeeple Dome, released October 13th on Windows 10 for $4.99. Introducing Dark Grim Mariupolis, point-and-click adventure game set in a world combining noir, Greek mythology, magic, mysticism, hopeless entourage of Greco-Roman age of decadence, and stifling everyday routine. Encourage yourself and step into darkness. Chris, tell us about this one.
Okay, so this is a point-and-click adventure game. And it's, a point-and-click with kind of a difference. We've seen this a couple of times in the abstract, in that it is like, what would you call it? Like kind of an uncomfortable game. Everything is like this purple and black and white kind of deal, and you walk around as Thor, who is a robot who's like smokes cigarettes, seemingly a 2-pack a day kind of guy. And, it starts off with you like going to a bar and hanging out and talking to people and stuff. And you kind of start to get wrapped up into this mystery. Apparently you're some kind of detective. It's a game that doesn't go out of its way to explain anything about the setting. You just kind of get dropped into it and talking to these bizarre characters. And it is all kind of vaguely based on this Greek kind of aesthetic. But, at first, it was a little frustrating because the game offers very little explanation as to what you're supposed to do. But most of it is puzzle solving, and a lot of that is through dialogue. So, if you talk to some people and, find out a little bit more about what's going on, and, don't ask me for any plot details because they're a little impenetrable sometimes. But in general, stuff's going down and you're in the middle of it. And yeah, like you might talk to somebody and convince them to give you a key to a door, and then you go through the door and, you get the next thing that you need there, and then you take that back. And it's a little more on the puzzles than it is on the on the point and click, like there's not a whole lot of like pixel hunting that you have to do, which is nice because I don't like pixel hunting. And it's actually well written. It's clearly not an English as a first language type of dialogue. Like there's some grammatic inconsistencies and awkwardness that makes me think that the writer is probably not a native English speaker, but it is actually written to be like purposely ramshackle in that way, so that's a good way to cover that. And of course the atmosphere also gives it this kind of broken feeling to it that's really, it's kind of nice if that's what you're looking for. You know, we saw that in things like Need a Packet and stuff.
No.
But this one, like I said, it has, what I like about point and clicks is the, you know, weird situations that they put you in, which is always a good one. And early on in this one, you have to get your really old office computer to print like this dot matrix like picture in orange. So you have to basically arrange colors and stuff like that to get it so that you can give a birthday card to a dinosaur. But then the dinosaur is missing its arms and legs because it is also a robot. And so, you know, that puts you on a quest to kind of locate that dinosaur's appendages. But it's still very happy to get their birthday card. So it's kind of like, that's a great way to sell a game to a person, is to be like, well, you make a birthday card for a dinosaur in this game. And they'll be like, oh, that sounds great. It's like, yes, but it's all very depressing and everybody's a miserable robot and, you know, constantly talking about, misanthropic stuff, I guess. I don't know.
So it's the real world.
Yeah.
We're all just robotic dinosaurs looking for our legs.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those where it's like when the music's there, it's pretty good. It's got some jazziness, some bluesiness to it. But honestly, most of my game was spent like just listening to like the rain like sample. So I eventually just started listening to other music. So there's still some there's still some rough edges to this one. But it's a compelling read for people who are into like the darker, grittier stuff. It's very noir, so that's kind of nice. And again, like any good point and click, it's full of bizarre like situations that, you know, require solving puzzles that kind of have their own logic. But it's if you played a couple of these kind of games before, then you get the logic pretty quickly. Oh. It's like, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, it's only $5, so what do you think?
Yeah, at $5, I'm going to say it's a fuck it, why not? Because if you are looking for like, different point and click experiences, it's one I can recommend for sure at that price point. So, cool. But for everybody else, I'm going to say to try it, give it a look before you go diving in. But it's a good one.
Cool. All right, one final game to talk about tonight, and we are going to SML After Dark territory.
Oh, boy.
With Waifu Discovered 2 Medieval Fantasy, developed by One Hand Free Studios, published by East Asia Soft. Released October 14th on the Switch for $9.99. Rescue lovely maidens from the clutches of evil magic and make them your next waifu. Chris, how many waifus did you save?
7.
Yay!
Yay!
One for each day of the week.
Yeah, I suppose. I beat the game on its easier difficulty. I haven't yet beaten arcade mode, so that unlocks yet another waifu. But they said plural, so maybe there's other waifus even yet undiscovered. I don't know, but yeah. So this is a sequel to the hit shooter Waifu Uncovered. Why they called it Waifu Discovered and then still added a 2 to it, I have no idea. But this is like just a straight up sequel to the other game. So in the first game, you shot through a bunch of like, basically it's a vertical shmup where you kind of pan around like this picture of a lady who is under a. This is both games, by the way. They're under some kind of like curse or whatever, where their clothes are permeated with whatever, and basically you take down shmuppy enemies in order to remove that cursed clothing, so that at the end, no more clothing, no more curse.
Yay!
And yay, you know, and then you're treated to a risque image that you know has a censorship level that you yourself can set, but we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. So the first game just had the one ship in it. It was a horse, riding a little kind of a standard, shoot 'em up kind of a little bit of a spread gun, some drones you could pick up, some, option ships or whatever. It was fun though. It was a fun little game. This one introduces even more ships. So we got a few different things. And of course they're all kind of jokey type of ships and stuff rather than just the horse. You've also got hang on, loading it. So, Goatee, which is a goat. You got Poos-E Kath, which is a cat. And you got Poom-Ah, which is another cat. And then King Kong. Oh, King Kong. Okay, it's a monkey, but it's King Kong, Qon. Right. So now we got different ship options, and they have different strengths and weaknesses. Some of them have slower shots. Some of them move slower, but they're more powerful. So that tends to be better for bosses. But here's the thing in this game, as well as the last, is that with the exception of the first stage, every stage, if you're looking to get the full picture, as it were, then you have to, there's an introduction part of every stage where you have to take out about 6 to 8 waves of enemies. And if you miss even one, then you miss getting the transparency score bonus, which the transparency score bonus is required to get the full uncensored picture, if that's the setting that you have. So you see, yeah. So it becomes a thing of if you miss one of those, you're like, oh, Anyways,
restart.
Yeah, exactly. So in that sense, the characters that shoot a little faster are better at taking out those waves, but the characters that shoot a little slower are better at taking out the bosses themselves, who we'll talk about in a sec. So the thing that you can do to mitigate this somewhat is that now the game features a shop, which is a lot like one of my favorite shooters, Lords of Thunder, where you can basically level up your ship through money points that you get inside the level. So sometimes the enemies will drop yen coins, and you have to grab up those yen coins, and those will, help you purchase stuff between stages. But if you shoot the yen coins, they devalue. So you can't just sit there and hold the shooting button when there's yen coins on the screen. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on a little bit of money. So it's kind of nice that they had that. And it's the shopkeeper is this old lady called Bruja, which is pretty fun. And she also lets you, choose your stage. You choose from 2 different girls. And you're going to go through 7 stages in total, but you kind of have a little bit of choice over your path here. It's so you choose one of the 2 girls, and then the one that you didn't choose is just going to get folded back into the set, and eventually you will choose them. But the levels will get harder the later that girl is in the deck in that sense. So if you wait until the last stage to fight the sword boss or whatever, you're going to fight the hardest version of the sword boss. So if you have trouble with the sword boss, you might actually want to defeat it earlier rather than later. So there's a little bit of strategy there too, which is nice. So yeah, let's get to the part that everybody actually wants to hear about, and that is the nudity.
Titties.
Yes, and this game has them. Every girl can be stripped down to naked breasts. And however, there's something that some players are going to want to know about this game. As far as I can tell, and as far as everything else I can read, you can't go fully uncensored. So if you're looking for a view downstairs, then you're going to have to go to Steam for that and get the DLC. But yes, if you do want to see the titties, then those are all available to you in this game. You can, if you're looking to get that view, you can do that on any difficulty level. You don't have to play through the arcade level to get the better uncensoredness, but you do have to play the game. That is to say, different uncensored levels, as well as different costumes for the girls, for the galleries, because you can play around in a gallery and dress them up and stuff, and or dress them down, as it were. And yeah. And also different modes and things like that. All of those are unlocked just through regularly just beating levels and stuff. Eventually, at the end of the level, it'll be you unlocked a new ship, or you unlocked a new costume, or you unlocked a new uncensored mode. So that's to let people know that with this game, if you are trying to get the the NC-17 version, that is not going to be available on this Switch port. However, it's a real good shmup. I really like it more than the original because, for one, the actual shooter parts are much better. It's still, like I said, it throws in a pile of enemies at you, and they'll shoot and stuff. It never quite reaches bullet hell, but a lot of times it's you have to you can get crowded, let's say, by the enemies. But this time there's no invincible enemies, which I like. The last game had that a lot, where it was like enemies that were just there to kind of be an obstacle, and you couldn't actually do anything about them. You get more bombs in this game if you choose to purchase them or level up your ship in order to have more bombs, so that's kind of nice. Bosses are all the same affair. It's just some big, usually round thing that's a joke, and it bobs around and occasionally shoots, and you have to, since your ship only shoots in one direction, you just kind of have to wait till it goes back to the top of the screen and just avoid it in the meantime. The bosses are very, except for the sword boss, I would say they're a little bit samey, but yeah, the shooter action, I think, in this one is much improved over the first one, and so I appreciate that about it. Music's actually really good, too. This soundtrack is actually really worth a listen. They go for RPG tropes all throughout it, so, the ladies are all like knights and mages and forest elves and things like that. And so... Oh, and also, there's a dwarf character in one. I mean, dwarf, the race, not an actual classification of a person. And she is the first not white person in the waifu series, as far as I can tell. So that's also nice. A little bit of diversity.
They're getting there. They're trying.
Yeah, and maybe that's. I mean, it's good wherever you can get it, I guess. So anyway, yeah. That's this game.
Cool. So it's $10. What do you say?
$10. I'd say it's actually worth it as a shooter, especially if you like to, get into these naughty games. I mean, there's a few of them on Switch. They're few and far between, but if you're looking to dig into one, this is certainly a good one in terms of gameplay. Again, though, if you're wanting to go full on perv, you have to go to Steam and purchase some DLC. So that's
such is life.
Yeah. I say if you are the, a fan of the R-rated stuff, then yeah, it's a buy it.
All right. Well, that is it for this episode. We made it through.
I'm not doing 4 more?
No.
Not till next week.
We've done enough. It's been this has been like a 3-hour episode.
Spanning across multiple days. I mean, no, we did all of this on Tuesday. It's actually 4 a.m. on Tuesday.
Oh, my God. That'd be funny if it was. Just Glenn started and then talked for 90 minutes, and then Tim and Pernell came by for an hour and a half, and then you showed up, and I've been sitting here the entire time. I need to pee so bad.
Yeah. No bathroom breaks.
In 4 hours, I just want to piss. I want my kidney stone to pass. God damn it.
No. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it sucks. That's why my throat's all raspy too, because I was throwing up because why am I talking about this on the show? Thank you, Chris, for being here to do your thing. Thanks to Tim and Pernell for coming on and doing their reviews and chatting about Metroid Dread some more. Big thanks to Glenn Case for reviewing Jackbox Party Pack 8, as well as giving us an in-depth discussion on the entire Jackbox. What's in anthology with the entire octology,
the entire Jackbox cinematic universe.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a good listen. Cool. But to wrap up the show, we're going to play a song from Glenn Case. So anyone have any final, and by anyone I mean Chris, because you're the only one here. It's been so long since I've done a show with like just one person.
I know, right?
So weird. Final words?
Stay hydrated, folks.